Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
So much happening behind the scenes here that Stugotz just had his headphones in his hands, and as the show was starting, he just shouted, and I'm hearing 3, 2, and Stugotz shouts, I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Wednesday. I don't know.
I have plenty to talk about. And,
really?
Yes. I meant to get to this yesterday. I don't know if this is any kind of allowed. It's probably against the rules. But can you guys tell me what you think would happen now if it were allowed that Aaron Donald could unretire and say, I got 3 games for you.
Oh, boy.
I got 3 games for you, Rams. I'm coming back. I don't know if it's possible, playoff rosters, rules, any of that stuff. But I was legitimately wondering if Aaron Donald could do it. Could you take a year off and be the same human being fresh for 3 games and just be pass rush up the middle the Rams could use right now as they go through a gauntlet?
I think he could. I love that it's 3 games. I do. Like, he needs to see them win 1 before he decides to join the team.
The one they just won. The one they just won. They win that one against Minnesota. So you guys will tell me first if any of this is legal, because I'm guessing it's not, but I like the hypothetical anyway, because I wonder whether somebody could physically do something like that, be dominant if you've retired and actually retired. You're not taking care of your body, you're not lifting weights, so you basically atrophied for, not totally, because I imagine Aaron Donald would take care of his body some, but you've been vacationing from the idea that you have to punish your body for a living.
I don't care about the vacation time. I don't care about the time off. If you tell Aaron Donald to put his fingers in the dirt and give you 3 games, Aaron Donald's going to give you 3 great games. He is. And now I'm starting to think of the playoff teams remaining. If they could pull 1 star from their past, the guy who's retired, who would they take? Yeah, you like that, don't you? Like, would the Eagles take Jason Kelce? I don't know. I mean, and would Kelce want to do it?
Of all of them? Of all of them ever?
Well, you're not going to take, like, I don't know, Wilbert Montgomery.
Has to be someone that can still do it.
Exactly right, yes.
Well, Andrew Luck, right? The Colts would immediately take Andrew Luck.
Right, but they're out of the playoffs. So of the 8 remaining playoff teams, I was wondering, who would the Bills take if they could take a guy, Eric Moulds? Eric Moulds could still give you I don't care that he's 50 years old.
He's not. Eric Moulds is in his 50s.
I don't care.
According to Mike Florio, the deadline for players to come off the reserve/retired list is the final business day before Week 13. So it looks like he can now no longer come back.
We should change the rule.
That bums me out.
Can he say that Week 12, all right, I'm coming back, and then just not play until the playoffs? All right, I'm officially back.
I would have wasted a roster spot to do that. Just, look, I think we can agree on this. Mike Ryan was yelling to anyone who would listen in the middle of the season, hey, I'm taking right now futures on the Rams, 49ers, and Bengals because maybe. Because football might happen, and I think those 3 might be 3 of the good teams if they're healthy at the right time. The sneaky thing about us discussing football all hours at all times is, there's a Super Bowl champion with pedigree that has been decimated by injuries since they lost Whitworth to retirement, and they can still, for 4 games, be the team that no-look passes you in the Super Bowl. That's what's happening. Is that the simplified Rams analysis where everyone in this sport is just like, yep, we respect you?
Yeah. I think the Rams are going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Well, you've said this. You said
I really believe it, though. Chris Sims keeps telling me how good that team is.
Well, let me ask you about Chris Sims. And
so do you think, or does Chris Sims think that
Well,
the
he
Rams are going to
does,
the
and
Super
yeah,
Bowl?
I'm stealing it. And no, Billy, because when I asked him last week, would you be shocked if the Rams made it to the Super Bowl? He said yes, he would be shocked, but not shocked if they made it to the NFC Championship game, which in hindsight, I probably should have challenged them on that, because if they can make it that far, they can make it to the Super Bowl. So I'm not really taking Sims's take. I'm taking Sims's take one step further. That's all.
Billy, I am so glad that you brought that up, because I want to highlight what I believe to be one of the great chemical relationships in the history of Metal Arc Media, and that is your relationship with Chris Sims as know-it-all Chris Sims guy, and you correctly on God Bless Football all the time correct him, put him in his place. He's Shanahan's buddy. But I will say, when Stugotz says of Chris Sims, my God, I just want to steal all his takes, steal all of them, because he's really smart about football. There's not a lot of people doing it more prepared to know what they're talking about than that guy is. Like, the way he's studying the media game is a bit obsessive compulsive in a way that scares me. The thing that I wanted to ask you, because I heard him do a promotion for his own show, Chris Sims Unbuttoned, the other day, and he started it out with "Yo, yo, what's up, homie?" and he ended it with "Peace out, homies."
Yeah.
And I'm asking what he's doing there.
Well, that's Chris Sims. I think what Billy and I have discovered is the Chris Sims you see on TV, that's not Chris Sims.
He talks a lot.
not?
He talks a lot cooler than he looks.
What?
Well-
He's just shouting out his homies. What's the big deal?
Yeah, but he doesn't do that on, Football Night in America, Sunday Night Football, yo, yo, what up, homies? He doesn't do that. He does it on his podcast. He does it with me and you on God Bless Football.
This is why I love Chris Sims right here from the Lefko tree of making funny things well.
Lefko has a tree, huh?
He does.
Sims is in the Lefko tree, you say.
How's that one work?
I think
I don't
Sims
know,
would
I'm
view
asking.
Lefko as in the Sims's tree.
I'm I'm wondering if
Yeah.
that's the way he sees it
Right.
too.
Do we have any votes in there? Because they were a comedy duo for a while, and they did things exceptionally well. And Chris Sims has gone from "I'm buttoned up on television and when I'm next to Florio," but on Sirius Satellite XM, "I'm Chris Sims unbuttoned. Yo, yo, what up, homie?" What's happening there?
I don't know. He's just shouting out his homies. Why can't he shout out his homies?
Right.
Is he not allowed to say homie? What's going on here? What's going on here, I think, is the
I'm
question.
asking. I am asking. Look,
Yo, yo.
he's a bit starched when he's knotting his tie and doing the dance on behalf of corporate America, because he knows how to do it. But then he goes unbuttoned, and when he's on God Bless Football, he's unbuttoned.
Oh, he's unbuttoned.
He's
yeah.
semi-buttoned on God Bless Football. Off air, he's unbuttoned.
We're talking shirt unbuttoned, right?
Well,
Yeah.
not off air.
Yeah.
I'm talking Chris Sims' corporate image and Chris Sims, who he actually is. You'll see the best look at that through God Bless Football, through Billy agitating him. Chris Sims is naughty. There, I said it.
I love having Chris Sims on the show because I love his information. But if not for the dynamic between him and Billy, I'm not certain we'd still be doing it because it is great.
All right, but I want to ask you guys this, because God Bless Football is an award-winning entity, and the Chris Sims and Mike Golick knowledge is excellent there, as is their relationship with those people. But when you're looking for your football information, y'all want look, this is what happened on the show yesterday, all right, Stu guys? Many people didn't like that we spent so much time talking to Chris Haynes about Jimmy Butler, and many people are tired of Jimmy Butler. But
I was one of them.
it was at least refreshing because he had new information originally reported, and he was making an effort.
Mm-hmm.
The standard in the gas bag industry has fallen so much that somebody taking that effort stands out, because so many people are just giving their opinions somewhere.
Right.
And we're giving equal weight to a lot of different voices, more than there've ever been. But when it comes to football, there aren't many people I listen to. I'm not expecting them to be predictive about who can win that game, who know what they're talking about more than Chris Sims. Like, and I hear that on God Bless Football, and it has the range of being really smart, really informative, really interesting, and also unbuttoned. It's fighting with the Duke because the Duke's the real one who knows football around here.
Yeah, I think with Sims, what's so amazing about him, first off, TV does that to you, right? Like TV is going to suck the personality out of you. Very few people.
Is that right? I should bring out the personality in you.
No, but he's doing a studio show. It's an NFL show. It's before Sunday Night Football. It feels like an NBC NFL property.
But help me with this. As somebody who is bucked against the idea of, okay, why are we wearing sports coats? Does that give our opinion more weight like that because we're wearing sports coats? Like, who bucks against the idea of Pat McAfee seems to be himself on that show, and that seems to work. Like, why wouldn't you want people to be maximum themselves and be someone else on television? What's the point of that?
Well, Pat McAfee is his own boss. Like, it's his show. Chris Sims, he's working for NBC. He's doing a studio show that's very important to NBC and the NFL. So I think those things are different. Now, you make a great point with McAfee because when he goes on College Game Day, he's still Pat McAfee, and that's kind of a studio show getting you ready for college football Saturday, but you're allowed to be more of yourself kind of in that atmosphere, that college atmosphere.
Does that not sound backward to you guys, though, as people who love sports coverage? The idea of, hey, go on television, be less yourself than you actually are. Let's make that entertainment. Why? Because we've got to pray for sports. We got to take the cathedral super serious. NBC Sunday nights. America gathered around the television. Tie your tie, button up your shirt.
But don't you think there's a certain way to do studio shows? McAfee has his own show. It's kind of like our show. There's a certain way to do studio shows. Like Chris Berman, what you saw on the air for all those years, there's a different person off air. I've seen it. I've met him. I mean,
it's a job. Like, you know, it's a job, and you behave differently at work than you do at home. Like, I'm sure Mina Kimes is a lot differently, like on NFL Countdown, than she is, just hanging out on the weekend.
Right, with Lenny.
But do you guys not understand? Do I have this wrong?
Shout out to the homie Lenny.
So, do you know? Isn't that why so much of the content ends up being homogenized? Like, isn't that why everything becomes a little bit the same?
Why do you want him to call everybody motherfuckers like he does on God Bless Football? Like,
I'm going to smoke a joint right after this game.
Yeah, imagine that's how he's talking to Tony Dungy. That doesn't work.
Wait a minute. I got Mad Dog saying he's on gummies all the time. I got Pat McAfee talking all the smoke, and he says all the science is running through his body. Like,
yeah, but those are different shows. Mad Dog's doing a radio show. I have acknowledged all the weed smoking I've done over the years on this show. I've talked about it openly. I wouldn't do it on SportsCenter.
You didn't do it on ESPN.
That's exactly right. Yes.
I'm just asking you, don't you want from television the most authentic personalities? Isn't Charles Barkley the most interesting personality in the history of sports television because everyone believes it to be authentic and unafraid? And isn't that what you want? I'm not saying I guess this is what I would say to you. That the Chris Sims off the air is more interesting and the Chris Sims on the air is plenty interesting, that I would love to see him be his full self because he doesn't have to go to quarterback school under his father, Phil Sims, and be broadcasting the way CBS thinks about it.
I think the Ravens would take Anquan Boldin.
No question about it. No question about it. And Anquan Boldin, I'm telling you right now, he could still do it. I don't know how old he is, but Anquan Boldin can give you 7 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown in his sleep.
Jessica,
44.
Help me as our resident old person who's a young person, because CBS is going for a certain broadcasting demo when they get Matt Ryan, who I saw him the other day, and I'm like, man, he fits in perfectly as the starched old person with his suit just perfectly manicured and will never say a single interesting thing so that none of the old people get offended.
Matty Ice.
Matt Ryan is perfect for CBS, which is trying to bring back Hollywood Squares, and goes for the old people demo on, let's keep this looking the same and safe so that the old people don't get scared. Let's just give them the same pregame show. We'll throw Tony Gonzalez in once in a while. Nate Burleson, Shannon Sharp.
He was on my flight last week, too. I saw a 3-day span. Tony Gonzalez was on my flight from Chicago to New York after the Bears played on Thursday night. Bad, awful game, by the way. Ugh. December 26th, Thursday night game, Bears. Ugh. And then Steven Spielberg the next day, and then Michael Imperioli, 3 in a row. Bam, bam, bam. And obviously Tony Gonzalez, the least famous of the 3.
Can you guys play for me, please? Jason Garrett just turning to the screen when he knows the camera is there.
This is authentic.
Jason Garrett.
You want Sims
Jason
to
Garrett,
be
you're right.
himself in front of that guy.
Yes,
I mean,
it's just television.
It does look like a carrot.
Yeah. All right, put it on the poll, please. At Le Batard Show. Does Jason Garrett look like a carrot?
That's his Veggie Tales character.
It is. It is
Jason Garrett.
Yes, it absolutely is. Whatever happened to our children's book with Teddy Bridgewater? I still want to
stole it.
I want to bring that. I want to bring that idea back because you're absolutely right. O.J. Mayo looked like a broccoli vegetable when he played a cartoon, and Jason Garrett looks like a carrot. Thank you for helping me with that.
Would the Chiefs take back Priest Holmes? I mean, wow, this is exciting.
Do they have to be retired or just any former Chief?
It's got to be a former Chief who you think could still muster it up for 3 games.
But not active.
When you said
Christian Okoye.
you said Tony Gonzalez.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Tony Gonzalez.
With Travis?
I think Tyreek Hill would retire just so he could go back to Kansas City under this scenario.
I mean, he almost did at the end of the season. I mean, you could interpret it that way if you wanted.
Can I ask the group, because I don't know that the name Christian Okoye would land with Jeremy and Jessica the way
Nigerian Nightmare. You got to be careful with that one.
Why?
For me, I mean.
Yeah.
Because I can't speak.
Don't worry, Stugotz. We got you.
Thank you, Roy.
You got it. Moving on.
Anyway, you were saying that him and Barry Word, what a great 1-2 combo, huh?
You think you're going to act as permission?
I'm just trying to make sure he doesn't get in trouble.
Thank you, Roy.
That's my job at the moment.
I appreciate
but
you.
At the moment, you've put us in the middle of this mess because
Me?
Chris, you mentioned yes. I will tell you why. I will tell you why. Know your teammates.
Oh.
Know your teammates. As soon as you say Christian Okoye, and I don't know if the rest of you noticed this, he barreled into the room to say it because this is the Roy wheelhouse. Do I get to shout the name of an old player that will make us laugh? Like this, there is no place that Roy is more joyous than this particular space where he careened into the room and he shouted Christian Okoye at us because he knew that was going to spew from Stugotz's bowels a belch of the Nigerian Nightmare.
I nailed it.
That's producing, friends.
And then Stu calls himself out, oddly. Oh, that was close.
Just in general. It's more of a general thing. You know?
Roy, please stop playing with fire.
I apologize. Hey, Christian Okoye. See you later, everybody.
Yeah, but Barry Word, a lot easier.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Makes us smile, you know. No nickname, though. I understand.
Okay.
The dictionary.
Oh.
Christian Okoye.
Oh.
You should look it up. He was Derrick Henry before Derrick Henry and probably smaller than Derrick Henry.
That's crazy.
I'm going to guess. I don't know. Maybe I have that wrong. I'm doing. I tend to make today's players bigger, stronger, faster than all of yesterday's players, and I don't know where the line on that is. I think of today's receivers as being more athletic than the 1980s, obviously, but there were plenty of Hall of Fame wide receivers in the 2000s. You know what I mean? Like,
of course, yeah.
So I don't know where the line is generationally on where it is that you say that athletes stop being bigger, stronger, faster than the previous generation, where your nostalgia ends up carrying you and you think things that aren't so. Like, for example, I thought that today's players on the defensive line were a lot larger than Howie Long, even though Howie Long was one of the largest of his time. And Jay Glazer was like, nah, Howie Long was pretty big for his size. But I think of that time as an ancient sports time where people were just smaller, where the 1972 offensive line for the undefeated Dolphins averaged 266 pounds. Like
right.
Something, or maybe smaller than that. I think Larry Little was their biggest Hall of Fame offensive lineman at like 300 pounds.
The Nigerian Nightmare was 6'1", 253. Derrick Henry is 6'2", 247.
A big 6'2", though.
A big 6'2".
Big 6'2".
Yeah.
He's only 6'2". He looks 6'8" out there.
Chris is like, I can take him. I'll tackle him. Only 6'2", please. That's shorter than Mike Ryan.
Yeah.
What do you guys think is the worst feeling in football?
A hit while it's cold. That's the worst feeling in football.
I would say tackling Derrick Henry.
Well, it's cold.
I was going to ask more, I guess, about whatever the embarrassment is of many of us came from a couple of games over the weekend in football, and the takeaway was Goddard will stiff arm Valentine for 30 yards, and Derrick Henry will stiff arm Minkah Fitzpatrick in a way that you will send your friends. This is the memeable moment from the game. Watch Derrick Henry punch a defensive back who's a first-round pick in the face because the Ravens like to punch the Steelers in the face. Look at how the Ravens play football. Let's be honest about this, okay? America loves this sport, at least in part, because every time what you're watching is violent acquisition. It's at the core of the country's DNA.
Yes.
How do we violently acquire the other people's land? Here's how we do it with Derrick Henry stiff-arming Minkah Fitzpatrick.
It's a good way of doing it.
Here, Minkah, you want to be tough and tackle everything in football to get to the top of sports? How about some of this from Derrick Henry? He just punches people in the face running through your secondary.
I'm kind of with you on D-line players now being bigger, stronger, faster, right? It has to happen. But then I think back to Reggie White. Was Reggie White the same size as Chris Jones? Because Chris Jones is a lot bigger, stronger, faster than Howie Long was, you know?
I don't know how to do this because at some point, some group of people is going to say that Michael Jordan wasn't the most athletic, right?
No.
See, this is where I trap
There'll
you,
never
though.
be a group of people who say
Okay,
that.
so, but we've forgotten.
A group of idiots.
I was talking the other day about the fact that if it happened in the 1950s in sports, did it really actually happen? When I tell you that LaMelo Ball has as many shots per minute as Wilt Chamberlain, none of us today are talking about Wilt Chamberlain like we understand what his athleticism was compared to his peers. But Bill Russell won all those championships. Look, Bill Russell is one of the greatest centers ever. You want to look at his dimensions? Please give me his height and weight. Bill Russell, one of the best centers ever. When I'm watching a sport now where they're telling me Karl Anthony Towns can't play center for 40 minutes or the Knicks won't be deep enough.
I feel like yes, the nutrition's gotten better, training's gotten better. A lot of the things around sports have gotten better in the last few decades than they were before. But trying to say every person before a certain decade was just like a wet noodle. They were still very strong and very fast and very large people. And just going off height and weight, I don't think is giving you a full picture.
Russell was 6'10", 220. A center.
220 pounds. I want you to imagine that in the post now.
I'm looking up NBA rosters.
220 pounds.
Bam Adebayo is 6'9", 255 pounds.
Undersized.
Way undersized for a center.
Playing against
one
Wilts.
of the freakiest athletes I've ever seen in this town. I'm not kidding you. If I saw the other day that Steven Adams was like, hey, Amen Thompson is the most athletic thing I've ever seen in a basketball uniform. I'm like, dude, you played with Russell Westbrook. What are you talking about? How can you get that forgetful? I would argue Russell Westbrook is the most athletic being in the history of that league. I would make the argument just in terms of athleticism, not understanding how you can get triple-doubles at that size, but it's just because you got more fast-twitch muscle fiber than everyone else.
You're taking up basketball skill. You're just saying as an athlete.
I
think I'm with you. As an athlete.
Look.
Russell Westbrook could play wide receiver, I think.
Okay, this is what I'm saying to you about sports, okay? Because I really do love that it's the competition of not just the inner cities, but the globe now for money, fame, and the biggest of currencies. How do I get into professional sports and get to the top of the most excellent and the most excellent, the top 1% of the top 1%? How do I get there? Medicine, science, doctors, millions of dollars in training. How do I fix my body? What do I need to do? I know a lot of people think that if they're eating McDonald's and just traveling and partying, that's not what's happening. I know that we think that's what Zion Williamson is doing. That's not what's happening. These people are in professional organizations that are trying to streamline business so that they could beat other people who are competitionaholics. It's a crazy business to get to the top of. And the athletes are thrown into the maw of it. Their bodies, science experiments. Test the human limits of how strong and how big we can be. I saw a 305 guy in motion in the NFL the other day. I saw earlier this season there was a 366-pound guy is running with the football, and I'm like, okay, and runs faster than anyone you've ever seen. Runs fast for that size. Where you're like, that shouldn't move that way. I'd always argue that we're in the best time, that we're in the most athletic time, that LeBron James at 40 is something the world has never seen. That's not something that's ever existed on this planet, being able to play basketball with those efficiencies. That right now what we're watching in Jokic, I don't know if you guys know this, but I think Jokic is still leading the league in three-point percentage.
Come on.
Like, I think he's the most I think he's making near half of his three-point shots because offensive basketball has never been played better by anyone playing offensive basketball than that person. And just because you think he looks like a loaf of bread doesn't mean that his advanced defensive metrics aren't also good. You can make the argument that that's the best basketball has ever been played by anybody ever, Michael Jordan included.
Jokic is second, this is funny, behind Sabonis.
By 0.1%. So he's right there.
Bill Russell, 220.
Jimmy Butler, 230.
We can't do it height and weight, Jessica. But
Imagine Jimmy Butler playing against Wilt.
Bill Russell would get caught in Jokic's ass crack. He'd be going up and down the court in his ass crack.
Be careful with this, man. Bill Russell is a
But
legend.
So at what age do I have to do that? Yes, of course, it's blasphemous. Billy, help me out here. At what age are we going to look at an athlete and say, Michael Jordan doesn't represent the height of athleticism? That's a bygone time. He's John Havlicek. He's Rick Barry. He's 20 years a generation removed from when things got really athletic.
Honda.
So, like, how old are you before you, like, when you start disrespecting
Exactly.
older?
What year is the cutoff? Like, if you were born post 2000,
like
you're
Bill,
better than everyone before
Like, when I
that
say
year.
Babe Ruth would be, like, a beer league softball player, like, that's the question. Like,
Who's
when are we going to get to that level with Michael Jordan?
Well, no, Dan, Billy, at a time, Willie Mays was considered one of the greatest
Hey,
athletes
kid.
in the world, right? And that went on for several decades, right? And then at some point, we just decided to turn the clock.
I have a way to phrase this.
And then it was Bonds, Griffey, Jordan.
Who's the oldest athlete that we consider a modern-day athlete? Is Barry Bonds a modern-day athlete? I think yes.
Yeah, Jordan.
Okay. So is around there the cutoff, early 90s?
Well, I know the way that you guys are doing it, but I'm doing it the way Billy's doing it, where Billy is saying, we now make the joke that the 104-mile-an-hour guy coming out of the A's pen would make that Babe Ruth swinging that big piece of wood up there look like his bat was slow because he wouldn't be able to keep up with the times today. We can make that joke 100 years removed. When are we going to make it about Jordan? When are we going to say that, wait a minute, you know how they're doing it now? Look at Wembanyama. They make them 8-4 now, and they make threes from half court. I don't know how that happened, but they dunk everything, they block everything, and the human species has now rendered that model obsolete.
Never on Jordan.
Yeah,
He might be the cutoff.
We
Like,
should
that's
be
it.
careful
That's it,
saying
yes.
guys born in the 60s are washed, and we should write them off.
Did
Just
you come
saying.
BJ or AJ? Before Jordan or after Jordan?
Also, like, Babe Ruth never had to play against these modern players, so maybe he would have upped his physical game and lifted some weights.
Right. But I think what Dan is saying is Karl Malone, who was a massive man back in the 80s and 90s, he'd be small
Mailman.
today. Yeah, the mailman.
Same with the Admiral.
Well, he'd have to move his game out to the three-point line
He's
because
not doing it.
they wouldn't want those 2-pointers. He wouldn't do it. That's
would.
correct.
He didn't like to mail threes. He liked to mail twos.
The mailman, I mean, that's a nickname we won't even have in 20 years because the mail will be
You're
completely
so right.
obsolete.
Yeah.
We'll have
So
the email
right.
man,
Yes.
and that won't even be relevant anymore.
How's Lucy doing with the TikTok ban? Do we know? Because I know it's easy for us to make fun of it. Chris felt it a little bit more because Chris has gotten a little addicted to that sugar as well. But if we're all addicted to the devices, and TikTok was the most advanced of the devices, so scary that the government has to say, yeah, we don't want this here anymore. And everyone's like, yeah, get it out of here. China, they're taking all our thoughts and information. Like, how is Lucy doing with taking away something that has become a substantive addiction for a generation?
I haven't checked in with Lucy this week. I know that she was struggling with it last week. I know that the kids these days, Jeremy was telling me, they've moved on to a more Chinese app.
Yeah, that's right.
They're like, hey, government, you're going to tell us we can't be on TikTok? We're going to go to an even more Chinese
Just
app.
a big middle finger to the U.S. government going to RedNote, which was the #1 app on the App Store yesterday, as everyone is downloading the app that's in China.
There is a real business opportunity here for, if minds and info and bodies are for sale, okay, we'll be this addicted that we will allow some branches of the internet in China to control our thoughts, infos, and actions.
Well, what, you want them to leave it to Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, well, there's that too.
Man.
Yeah, there's
this
that
is so much worse.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that with Pablo Torre and David Samson, because it does feel like we're living in apocalyptic times.
But TikTok hasn't like disappeared off people's phones. Like, I think you're still going to be able to use it. You just won't be able to update it, right, Jer Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case, but then what does it become if there's no new content? I need new content.
Right, I got to tell you guys, nothing says TikTok quite like David Samson.
Yeah.
Well, it's not TikTok, it's Zuckerberg. It's another. I need you to keep up here, because these are complicated times and there's some freedoms being impinged upon, and you might want to pay some attention to how eager Elon Musk is to buy America, like just following Donald Trump around.
I'm paying attention.
As he gets to ransacking the government.
It's cute that you think that you own your own thoughts, Dan, and that someone doesn't already own them.
That's correct.
They seem like genuine friends to me.
I own Chris Sims's.
What's fun about RedNote is it actually, from the Chinese translation, means Little Red Book, which is Chairman Mao's, instructions in communism.
This is awkward.
I told you one of the great business scams I've ever seen in my life was in China with the entombment of Mao, because the line was down the street of people buying flowers and putting them at Mao's tomb site. And then when you came back 6 hours later, all of those flowers had been put back in the shack and resold to a new group of people, because 6 hours later, none of the flowers. It was one of the great grifts I've seen of all time, happening right in front of me with a dead emperor.
Kind of like what the Panthers do with the rats. Yeah. People throw the rats on the ice, they gather the rats, and then sell the rats.
The Lions take Megatron?
Ooh, for sure. Wow. What about Ray Lewis? Think he can still get you 9 tackles?
10.
Billy, yesterday I aired in wandering around through a bunch of Greg Cote meanderings. Greg Cote was great the last 2 days. It was a historic throwback performance by Greg Cote until he petered out in the third hour because he tired of Jimmy Butler and Chris Haynes talk.
Back-to-back days.
It's a long 40 minutes.
It was long, too long.
Chris,
It is.
You buy weird
The
trinkets,
notes.
okay.
Chris-
Friends with
already.
Jimmy Butler.
Chris, let me ask you the same question another way.
I want to get...
Surprised he didn't have a Jimmy Butler jersey autographed behind his head. Jeez.
Jesus. Right.
Carrying water.
So...
Are we still talking about that? What's going on?
We're going to talk about not talking about it anymore because of how much we've annoyed the audience. But I will tell you, and this is very polarizing, Jeremy was very excited by that Chris Haynes interview. In the middle of the night last night, I got a text from Amin talking about how great that Jimmy Butler-Chris Haynes interview was. And I have rarely seen people more divided on a subject where I thought something was good, but I could tell that everyone here didn't think that that was good, because everyone's grown so tired of Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. And they're like, why are we talking about a middling 8 seeds, 35-year-old player? And it's because the franchise and the market that got so excited with 2010-2014 basketball, Miami Heat, where you're the center of the universe and you're making super teams, that market falling into the sea so the Boston Celtics could be champion and only feeling alive when they're trading their best old player. It felt like the old days for a week. We're talking about basketball in Miami like it matters.
Yeah, but in the old days, we used to talk about a team that was good.
Yeah. That was 11 years ago. LeBron left 11 years ago.
It's amazing. Really?
Yeah.
And we're still talking about that.
I'd also say that,
Jeez.
saying that people are tired of talking about Jimmy Butler, or they're tired of Jimmy Butler and the Heat, The Heat are also tired of Jimmy Butler in the Heat, and Jimmy Butler is also tired of Jimmy Butler in the Heat. So imagine everyone else who's less invested of the situation.
But so I'm arguing, though, with Amin. I'm like, Amin, trust me when I say this. That was only interesting to basketball nerds. One of the problems the sport has is that many people are tuning out on basketball because of what all this has wrought. The idea, Stugotz, like, it is, there's no disputing this, wherever it is that you align racially or politically. In today's times where people are struggling with not understanding, how are you telling me that the economy is good when I can't afford things because of inflation? A player says, I can't get Joy under contract for I get $40 million this year and opt into $50 million next year, when you're Jimmy Butler and you've done plenty of winning and proved you're a badass. But that you'll make this mess, that's going to land wrong with a public that is waiting for that sport to land wrong since George Floyd, since the bubble, since woke culture, since you put social justice on the uniforms. People want some of this stuff to fail, and Jimmy Butler is an easy place to just check out on the NBA because you're making a lot of money and you're not enjoying it. Get out of here.
I got to tell you something, man. You are good. How'd you bring us back to a topic that none of us want to discuss? I mean, you are good. And you're making it interesting. I mean,
what's going to happen to Jimmy's new brick and mortar coffee shop he just opened in the Design District? I love their coffee. It is so good. Yes, it's actually, I'm not being paid by them to say this.
I think you should
delicious
coffee. I think
I agree with you.
Can we make let's
make this happen.
Let's do some business. If you're
Jimmy likes us.
You're not being paid to say this. You're a genuine advocate for $100 coffee.
Yeah, it's like cost the same as all the overpriced coffee in the city. It's not like it's particularly over. The merch, on the other hand, very overpriced. But is he going to close it? What's going to happen? I mean, he just opened it like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
I keep seeing businesses all over South Florida close. This is happening all over the place too, correct? As desperation increases, as homelessness increases, this is something you guys are noticing all over the country. There are more things shuttered and closed, at least in part, because people aren't even working on the streets anymore. They're more at home than they've ever been. I was reading something today about like among American middle-aged males, 74% of them or something say they have moderate to high loneliness. Like we're kind of in a weird time, aren't we? Like we can all agree on this. Yes, this is not something that we would even disagree. That weird times, strange times.
On this show or in
everywhere.
General?
We're just talking about like football players and how tall they were.
Everywhere.
Yeah, just come on over to RedNote, comrade. Right over there.
That's a good slogan, right? That I like.
Comrade is great.
Yeah, like, things are weird, but you also may be projecting a little bit.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I saw Wendy's that was closed, but that's about it.
Right. Jordan's still the greatest.
Okay, I think we can all agree on that.
That's the line.
All right, very good. I'm glad we agree. I'm sorry. I am sorry. That just legitimately happened. I just asked Jessica if she had sent me a story about an Italian soccer club firing a falconer. It's not a falconeer, right? A falconer.
No, it's a falconer.
It's a falconer.
It's somebody who has trained a falcon.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. For posting photos of a penis implant. And I thought it was Jessica who sent me that story.
I said, okay, Dan, now let's get you back to the home.
But it was Samson, was it you who sent me that story? Somebody.
Yes.
Okay, somebody sent me that story.
How'd you confuse the two of them?
I get it.
We were starting the segment, and I'm looking through my notes trying to figure out who it is that sent me the Falconer story, and there it is. David Sampson sent me that story. I'm not familiar with the story. I love the headline. What's the story?
The story is there's a team that has a falcon as a mascot. And when you have a falcon, you have a falconer who's the guy who controls the falcon and says, come back to me. And this guy got a penile implant because he wanted a button that he could press to control his erection and make sure that he can have sex whenever he wants to for however long he wants to. And then he posted pictures of it on his social media account that's private, but somebody took a screenshot of it and then posted it publicly. And he got canned, absolutely fired. And he's shocked that he got fired for this penile implant.
You had
It's a
Jess
pretty
sending
big
this
story.
to you? I mean,
I have too
Isn't
many
that just
notes.
called the G spot?
It's a button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
she knows.
Hard to find.
metaphorically, I guess.
Dan, help me right now because this is it. This may be the moment.
This is it, huh?
After all we've been through, this could be it.
Is that a Rosebud Motel next to you?
Hey, Schitt's Creek. How about that?
That's my Hanukkah gift for my kids.
First
the
episode
Rosebud
aired
Motel model.
10 years ago yesterday. First episode of that show.
Last time Heat were relevant.
Just a button.
That's a nice gift. I mean, that's the
We're
nicest.
going to need to cover for Dan now because he's gone.
They were in the
We've
finals
lost
twice,
him.
Billy.
So I'd like to talk about something.
What?
I'd like to talk about what it is to fire a player when you are reading a book on the sideline. And I'm sorry, Dan, you may not want to go there, but A.J. Brown's career with the Eagles is done. And I am so lit up about this subject because I don't understand why the coach is absolutely supporting his ability to be distracted like that on the sideline. And we're allowing a player to say, oh, this had nothing to do with the fact that me and Jalen Hurts don't like each other and I had one catch. I think it's an outrage.
David.
Jessica, it's just a spot. It's just a book.
Whoa.
It's a button, David.
What are we talking about again?
Do you know what it is, David?
Let's put a button on that part of the
I've
conversation.
spent a lifetime looking.
What a ridiculous take, I must say, about A.J. Brown being done with the Eagles. I mean, last week you're cutting Mike Evans before he gets his bonus. This week it's A.J. Brown
on
being
a
cut for
roll.
reading a book. I love what you're doing here because you're taking takes to places they've never gone before, but this
He
is
won't be an Eagle,
ludicrous.
Stu. He
What?
won't be an Eagle. You cannot have someone on the sideline who is doing that. You cannot bring your pregame preparation onto the sideline. We just wouldn't allow it.
He
How
was
about if
bettering
all players-
himself. He was reading to become better at his he's preparing for his next
Right.
You're
snap.
buying
David.
that in the middle of a game, he needs to read a passage in order to remind himself what inner excellence is? Give me a small break. It's the middle of a playoff game.
I know, but why are you saying he's not going to be an Eagle? Because if he goes on during these playoffs to have massive games, they go on to the Super Bowl, he's going to be an Eagle. I mean,
He won't even be targeted next week.
really?
Not even. He'll maybe again one target, one catch.
Wait, how does this work? So Jalen Hurts drops back. A.J. Brown is wide open, and he refuses to pass him the ball?
You've never heard of basketball players, teammates not passing each other the ball?
Of course,
because they don't like each other.
Freezing a guy out, yes, but this is a playoff game where you don't have a ton of time to think about stuff, you know?
Oh, I think you think about it very deeply and strongly, and I think that A.J. Brown is going to walk himself right out of the playbook. Here's the book that I'd like him to read next weekend. How about the playbook or the unemployment income book? There's a whole book that we give you when we fire you, which is Cobra. It's how you can apply for unemployment. It's all the things you can do when you've been canned. That's the book I'd like to see A.J. Brown read.
You're saying A.J. Brown shouldn't read that book. I'm saying if Jalen Hurts makes that read, he should get canned.
It's a good joke.
No, it was a bad play on words. You don't have to
So
pat me on the back for
bad.
that. Dan's
a
back.
spot.
Hey.
I'm rattled,
You should be.
and I am objecting to his take. It is too strong, but you've seen him. Look, David's a very competitive human being. David runs 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days because he wants to win at all times. He's in the content game. He is a hustler. He has toured the country in the content game, and he's pushing his takes further and further out.
I love it.
Because he's got to keep up in the content game, and the hot take is rewarded. All over the place, the take is rewarded, and David's pretty smart. And he's crafty, and so he's pushing his takes out into the extremes. And and plenty of people in Philadelphia would agree with him that A.J. Brown should be cut. He has served his purpose.
No,
I
Eagles
don't
fans
know.
love A.J.
Not a
Brown.
person agrees with that.
They just want to win games. They don't give a
No,
shit.
wait a minute. A.J. Brown disgruntled 1 catch you can get out of town. A.J. Brown 12 catches for 160 yards will love you forever, even if you're reading on the sidelines. Like that, I'm saying the same way they'll run Sirianni out of town even after wins because look, man, the Bills fan base is the best that there is in football because it donates charity, but passion of fans in an angry fan base turns into a very ugly thing. And the expectations in Philadelphia are in an unreasonable place where Sirianni's an idiot and A.J. Brown is as good as his last game, not the last one that he gave you 12 catches in, the last one that he gave you 1 catch in and was reading a book.
I mean, the expectations in Philadelphia are where the expectation should be in Philadelphia based on that roster. They're a very good football team. I don't care what their fans say or think. Their fans are a bunch of lunatics. I'm serious. And they're not allowed to celebrate this thing. They're not allowed to celebrate A.J. Brown because I'm certain on WIP they're calling right now Mark Gargano, and they're telling him right now, get rid of A.J. Brown. They're with David Sampson. And I'm telling you, Philadelphia, you are not allowed to root for this team because 6 weeks ago, you wanted to fire your coach, and most of you, I think most of you, do agree with David Sampson, and that's ludicrous.
You think A.J. Brown's not going to find a job if he's not on the Eagles?
Very easily. He'll find the job, yes.
Patriots, variable.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I have an update, by the way, on the guy that was fired in Italy. He was also suspended in 2021 while he was filmed performing a fascist salute at the end of a match, chanting the name used to praise former fascist Italian leader Benito Mussolini. Quote, I admire him so much, he added on Monday's radio interview. So sounds like maybe he had a prior history of...
Well, those are big-time anti-Semites over there, and you don't want to generalize, but that team that he works for is well known for their bad behavior, both fans everywhere in the organization, not a very inclusive place. But I guess being an anti-Semite is fine, but a penile implant, that's the line that you can't cross.
You know what? I've got to interrupt everything I'm doing because a sly grin just came across the face of one Stugotz. And when he gets this sly grin, I'm showing people behind the curtain here, everything around here has to stop immediately, no matter the segue, no matter how awkward. On his face, gleam in his eye, I can see that he has top 5 athletes if they were vegetables. I can see it. I can see it.
This is based on our conversation last segment where I called Jason Garrett Jason Carrot.
We don't have to give any explanation to anybody. I saw the gleam in your eye. Is any OLI or just top 5?
We have some OLI, yeah. Mookie Beats. Cam Radish. Dontario Potato. Number 5, Lou Broccoli. Number 4, Russell Westbrook. Number 3, Diana Zucchini. Number 2, Kevin McHale. And number 1, Dan, Jerome Lettuce.
It's a good list.
I mean, that's as good as it gets.
Man, I mean,
Come on.
That might be your best list ever.
On the fly, too. You did that pretty quickly.
Just don't do any more.
I mean, that's as good as it gets.
That's your best. Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good job, Taylor.
Saw it in
Nice,
his
see you later.
eye. Saw it in his eye. It was gleaming. We have to stop everything we're doing whenever it is
Julius
that
Peppers?
we see this.
Cornelder?
We will get to Pablo Torre in a second, but Samson, give me all of your thoughts on Deion Sanders to the Cowboys and the Jerry Jones job opening. I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet.
I just don't see what the benefit is to Jerry Jones. When Deion went to the Buffaloes, it added a bunch of NIL money. They got a bunch of extra revenue at the school level with season tickets, et cetera, and it put their program on the map. The Cowboys' valuation isn't going to go up with Deion Sanders. They need to win games, and they need to win games in January and February. And to even flirt with Deion Sanders is a very funny thing for Jerry Jones, the GM, trying desperately to get away from Mike McCarthy and all the losing. So trying to go opposite of what McCarthy is, because Deion's done nothing, really never been an NFL coach, obviously. And you could say that his success in Colorado was based on maybe his son and the Heisman Trophy winner. I think this is a flirtation that will not actually result in a contract because there's just no ancillary benefit to Deion Sanders joining the Cowboys.
Squash Allen.
Oh, my God. How did I leave that out?
I am
looking.
I am looking right now at an invitation. I'm going to switch gears here from athletes who remind you of vegetables, some nutrients of a different kind that nobody here is asking for or nobody wants. I'm going to ruin the show. by looking here at an invitation for Monday night to a reception prior to the inaugural ball, celebrating the inauguration of Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, hosted by Tillman Fertitta and Mark Zuckerberg. And I want to bring in Pablo Torre because of some of what's happening right now in America that people might want to be paying attention to as the power is being dispersed among very, very wealthy people.
It's playoff time, Dano.
I understand, but just give me a brief moment to welcome in Pablo Torre and David Samson, and start with you, Samson, on how would you present everything happening around Zuckerberg, around Musk as well, but around Zuckerberg particularly, and how it relates to how we get information and where all the money seems to be aligning.
It's pretty shocking that you want to discuss this now, because this has been going on for decades, where there have been power brokers both outside the government who don't want to be in the government because they have more power not being the president or not being in the Senate. They have power pulling the strings. We've been dealing with this with sports, where you have owners who have been very quiet about their support of the right, except all that's changed is they're less quiet. And when you look at someone like Miriam Adelson, name you didn't mention, who took over the Mavericks from Mark Cuban, her husband was the number one far right, absolute, what I would call, let me talk about Sheldon Adelson for 1 second. He was such that his wife couldn't be approved as owner of the Mavericks, so they had to have the son-in-law as the control person. So the NBA could have plausible deniability that they were kowtowing to people who have those views. Except in sports, they've always wanted people around them who have those views, because they're always interested in maximizing their valuations and their relationships with government, because they need the protections that government provides. What Donald Trump has allowed for is people to be more open. When you've got the Ricketts family, when Tom Ricketts was approved as owner, he was approved to own the Cubs only knowing that it was a trust that his father was funding, but his father could have nothing to do with the operation of the Cubs. So baseball could say, oh, we're not far right, but it's horse hockey. Of course, Joe Ricketts has been involved. Todd Ricketts has been involved in the operation of the Cubs. We just lie to the fans in order for them to believe that we are woke, that we are far left, that we care so much, but they've never cared, ever. They just hide it less well these days.
Pablo, you've reported on sports owners as well as anybody over the last year. I urge everyone listening to this. Pablo Torre Finds Out is a journalistic enterprise that has an assortment of reporting you will not find anywhere else. Miriam Adelson, John Fisher, Glenn Taylor, Matt Ishbia, the Suns owner. What you reported on him was crazy and no longer in the shadows. What have these people been hiding from public view that Trump doesn't make them have to hide anymore?
Well, just the transactionality of all of it. I mean, David does sort of summarize it well there, but I'll add just a different sort of angle to it, which is that invitation that you read, the Ricketts family, the Adelsons. Okay, obviously those are two sports owners. And Mark Zuckerberg, now you have a guy who is also a sports figure. Dana White is on the board of Meta. I went to college with Mark Zuckerberg. I've been watching him in both a morbidly curious. I mean, was I the 199th person in the world to join Facebook? Yeah, maybe. Who's counting? Me. It used to be my URL, 199. But I say that because for 20 years, I watched a guy without any actual moral compass transact and scheme to become more and more powerful and more wealthy. Corruption is not created equal. Like, I think there's just a bunch of people out there who are like, but Hunter Biden. And I'm like, Hunter Biden, that was a terrible embarrassment for the Biden administration. There are lots of things the left, broadly speaking, has done that does fall into the realm of corruption and is embarrassing. I'm just telling you that nothing is as look at what we're doing, we're not even hiding it anymore, than invitations like that and just the pivot that someone like Mark Zuckerberg has taken. They're doing it, Dan, because it works. This is an administration that is welcome to quid pro quo. Miriam Adelson, by the way, the Adelson family, aforementioned, we did an episode about them, the biggest donors to Donald Trump. In exchange, they get to dictate policy on Israel. Mark Zuckerberg, the reason he's doing this is because he knows that he can give money in exchange for political favors and protection. It works, and that's why they're doing it. They're not stupid. They are just devious.
Pablo, people have known that forever. What's actually different now is something that you're not focusing on. It's that they've got the support of over half the country. We can talk all we want about who's the president. The fact is, when you've got 70 million people, this is the country we are. We elected Trump to office, and now these owners and these billionaires, they've got the cover that they never had before. You don't need to work in the shadows when you have popular support. And that's what they have. Mark Zuckerberg knows that he's fine on Facebook. He looks at the stock price of Meta and he recognizes that it's being bolstered not by people who disagree with him, but by people who agree with him. So he's going to lean into that.
But I think that what David just did is the trick that got run in the campaign and now the aftermath, which is you voted for this. And I think on some level, of course, because it's two choices, yes, objectively true. But I just think that there has been a both sidesism to corruption that has undersold the magnitude on the side that won. And the side that won did not run on we are corruption, vote for corruption. They ran on all the other stuff. They ran on, again, sports topics. They ran on trans athletes. They ran on immigration. They ran on the stuff that is juicy, the stuff that actually like moves the needle in a town hall meeting. Corruption isn't one of those topics, but because the other stuff got voted for, corruption rides inside. And David, I just think that my faith relative to yours is in the idea that people, if they actually knew the magnitude and were presented with it by journalistic enterprises in a more rigorous and clear way, they would not actually say, we voted for corruption. They would say, oh, that was an unfortunate thing that happened in retrospect. We voted for the other stuff. Instead, we got the most corrupt administration in the history of American politics.
Pablo, were you the least successful member of your graduating class?
You know, I went through this exercise at our reunion.
Oh, no, you went. That already is a bad sign, friend. Zuck was not at that reunion. You didn't go to your... Wait, Billy, you didn't go to your... We don't have college reunions.
Zuckerberg was a year ahead of me. There are some other candidates in mine. You guys don't have college reunions?
No, college reunions.
I mean, we
you
do.
see
I
each
just
other
don't
in
go to
Publix
them.
walking around. Yeah.
I haven't had one yet.
Like 60,000 people in a graduating class. I just see them in the streets every day.
Yeah.
Pablo, were you also on Facebook when it was just a Hot or Not website, or was that?
Yeah, so Facebook started as truly that.
Oh,
like
good.
It was a way.
we've
for
seen the
Mark
movie.
Zuckerberg to.
We all saw Social Network, Pablo.
Well, I'm here to tell you, you saw a movie. I lived the movie.
What were the Winklevoss twins like?
I didn't see you in the movie.
Pablo.
College was a movie, The Social Network.
That's right. That's
Pablo,
right.
your desire to be so ahead of us intellectually gets in the way of actual discourse, because the corruption that you're discussing has existed since Jefferson, Burr, Hamilton. There's been government corruption since the beginning of time. Now you're saying they didn't vote for corruption?
No, what David is saying is actually the problem now. Your take has gotten worse. Your take is now... Corruption has always existed. We should not even remark upon its existence. Yes, it is. You're observing something. In the observation, you are wearing away the edges on what's actually interesting, which is that this is uniquely corrupt. And I'm just telling you that,
uniquely
yes, of
corrupt.
course,
You're saying, but Pablo, there's nothing unique about what's happening. It's just not hidden anymore. That's the only thing. If you want to say that's what's unique, then we can talk about that. But the level of corruption now by the big, go back to Ford. Go back to when cars started. Go back to the wheel or the steam engine.
Go back to the wheel?
When I'm talking about corruption.
To
when
the
I'm
Model
talking
T.
about power.
Yeah.
Oil.
Are you just naming old things now?
No, I'm naming every level of corruption that started with the caveman.
Swinging saloon doors.
Were you hot or not, Pablo? Like, what was your picture and what was like the percentage?
I think I did peak in college.
Really?
I thought they only rated women.
But of course they did.
To answer your question, though, in terms of like where do I rank in my college reunion, it does bring us back to the topic, because when I went to that reunion, Vivek Ramaswamy was there, and I just point out something. Vivek Ramaswamy drove a wedge into this insane coalition between Silicon Valley, deeply transactional, and America First, right? Because he was talking about like H-1B visas and he need more Indian immigrants and all that stuff. Go check out the last time Vivek Ramaswamy tweeted. The dude has been disappeared from the Republican Party since he dared to say something that was ideologically inconvenient for this coalition. So I'm just telling you that Vivek Ramaswamy's on the way down. I think I am absolutely back ahead of him. Damien Chazelle directed Whiplash and La La Land and those movies, so I think he's clearly the number one. But I'm up there. I'm up there, arguably, I would say.
Colin Jost your year?
I didn't like Colin Jost was not. He was years ahead of me. Went to high school together. He's a good guy.
There you go.
High school.
Guys, I need some help here. I need some help. I need some help from all of you because Pablo Torre has a very popular podcast, and he's likable to a certain select.
Can I clarify?
Thank you.
I am the least likable on your show, which is unfortunately one of the biggest platforms that I tend to
join the club.
Sometimes have. Everywhere else, I'm like the fun guy. Here, I'm like the scold, and I'm like,
welcome to my world.
Really,
Pablo.
you're the fun guy elsewhere, huh? Are you?
Finally walking a mile in my shoes, Pablo.
I am the fun. Dude, I am the Stugotz of MSNBC. Just to give you a clarity on what it's like for me over there. I come in wanting to talk about. I come in wanting to rank quarterbacks, literally. And it's a very different experience.
So we're trying around
I yell into
here.
people's
we're
lav mics, like Michelle Beadle.
We get the joke.
Beads,
we are trying to make you more likable around here, and you continue to just make it difficult at every turn. Billy and Stugotz are noticing at every turn that your arrogance is showing.
No, I like Pablo.
But
Love
Pablo.
Pablo.
Yeah,
not arrogant.
But
Not
Pablo.
Stop Vivicking us.
What he just did is. I lived the movie. He's basically saying I was at the start of social media. It started with me. I invented it.
I was, though.
He says from his one-bedroom apartment.
I didn't make money on it. The two-bedroom.
Or apartment
two-bath.
shaming?
A one bedroom in New York also. I mean, that's doing well for yourself.
Thank you, Jess. I didn't as the movie says, if you invented Facebook, you would have invented Facebook. I didn't invent Facebook. What I did, though, was watch Mark Zuckerberg's now wife, Priscilla Chan, live in my freshman entryway and send an email to us being like, hey, do you want to sign up for Mark's new website? And I did. And
you could have
Priscilla,
saved the world. You could have stopped it all then and there.
That's the better take, is that I was all too happy to sign up for the Hot or Not site and like stalk people in my classes because I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually convenient. Instead, yeah.
This is Pablo Torre. This MSNBC. You're making him a rising star. He's got the world's most expensive podcast, and he does journalism at a time that journalism is dying because you all gave it to Zuckerberg, and you're good with him and Musk doing journalism. And Pablo's out here
and it's expensive,
fighting the good fight, but he does so with maximum eloquence. And MSNBC, this is what you've hitched your wagon to in terms of intellect.
Yeah, but this is beginning of.
This, meanwhile, David Sampson toils in a tin can, 8 o'clock in the morning, doing better content, belching it out 50 minutes at a time. Pablo needs a team of people, needs an army of hundreds to give you this.
Yeah, this is beginning of.
And poor Samson's just working with Coca and trying to get on MSNBC, and nobody invites him on MSNBC.
Well, they don't invite him on MSNBC because he thinks that corruption is the same now as it was before money entered politics. So,
and that AJ Brown's going to get cut.
Well, you're not.
I think Dan walked away when Samson just started saying stuff like "the wheel." But that happened too. Yeah.
Do you guys understand? You've learned nothing from me, either one of you. Samson, Pablo, do you understand how hard it is to be less likable than me with your strident opinions?
Is that why
By the way, you are welcome. You are welcome for that.
He was just naming Monopoly pieces. He was like, the thimble.
Is that why you hired me, Dan?
You surround yourself with people who make you more likable.
The penguin.
That's what I did.
I was a boot guy. Anybody else a boot guy?
I like the little car and the doggy.
I was the
Depending on the mood.
little terrier.
I used the boat.
That's
I was the top
I was
hat.
gonna make a
too.
bootlicker joke, but I
Nobody
opted
saw
out.
Stugotz coming on that one from any angle. So your level of trepidation here as we enter, like, what are the interesting takeaways? Like, what is the proper, not howling at the sky, correct temperament to have about what is clearly happening in this country? Which is the gulf between have and have-nots continues to grow. There's a desperation growing amid the have-nots, and the rich people keep accruing more power, more money, so that they will have all of it at the most desperate of times and can buy all the water when you need it for a firefight, can buy all the media when you need it for a power struggle on disinformation. Like, what's accurate as we enter a new 4 years where the American public have said flatly, what we care about is the economy and immigration, and the voting is swallowed by the desperation, and people are lonely and angry, and they'll vote for whatever represents change?
I think it's Silicon Valley. I think tech is actually the big difference. And that's the difference between the wheel and now, is that we are dealing with the foremost technological innovation presented to you by companies that aren't just seeking to protect themselves, but they actually do have a we know better than you perspective on this. It's not just that Silicon Valley is transactional, David, and they are willing to spend to preserve their own self-interests. It's that now you have them in concert with an administration that doesn't care about the ideology. They don't. Donald Trump's foremost motive is profit, and it's just naked in a way that's different. There were other guidelines and guardrails around, well, he won't do this because, he won't do that because there is shame, there is policy. He actually does believe this ideologically. And I'm not saying that Trump believes in nothing. I'm just saying that nothing compares to the profit that he wants to make. And when you have that in combination with the place that has the most money to spend, that does have ideas for how the policy should be different, it's just a remarkable combination that we're going to begin to see in full bloom. That's going to make the wheel and the corruption that existed in the era of like oil barons, it's going to be quaint because it's never been quite like this with Silicon Valley ascendant at this time.
The middle class has been disappearing for decades, number one. Number two, one of the most common misconceptions is people saying, oh, this is different. This isn't like it was. This is worse. This is getting out of hand. If you go back to the 70s, to the 60s, go back to the 20s, go back to the 1800s, for crying out loud. People had the same point of view. This can't get any worse. The problem you have, Pablo, is that you're trying to explain to people something that they already know. You're not helping them find out something. You're not giving them an epiphany that, oh my God, look who I voted into office. I had no idea what he was about. Of course they know. Maybe in 2016 they didn't know, but in 2024, of course they did, which is why all of this shouting into the wind is not necessary, because this is our country. You like it or not, this is what we wanted and this is what we have.
Connor Scallions.
That's really good.
That's pretty good. Gotta say, it's pretty good.
Jeremy, you were making faces while Samson was talking.
Well, I guess the one thing that I would say is, yes, of course, corruption has always existed, David, and we as a country have constantly needed massive deals from the proper administrations to root out corruption and save us from disaster. And basically, since Reagan was president, we have only slashed and slashed and slashed and slashed on regulation and welcomed more and more and more and more corruption and money into government. And this is that time where people are so fed up and frustrated. Whether it's different or not, David, the perception is there for young people, for middle class people, for lower class people of, this is enough. This rich guy and all of his rich friends profiting off of us, the labor. There are people who are fed up with that, and it seems to be more brazen, and more people have access to that information now than before. So the rich guys are buying up the information places and making it unable for Americans to communicate with each other in that respect without it being suppressed. That's a problem.
Pablo.
I don't love that Jeremy and I are both wearing glasses as we yell at David. It's just I feel like we're diluting
Extra
our
pretentious.
likability
Yeah,
at
you're
the
right.
same time. I do want to. I want to join Jeremy, though. I'm pushing back on David in this way. David said you find nothing out by explaining how corrupt and perhaps uniquely corrupt this administration is. The Silicon Valley thing is the part that I think we're underweighting here. Every day on this show, especially, but otherwise, we marvel at how unhappy we are about our phones and what is actually ruling our day-to-day life, right? We marvel at that as if it's new all of the time. The companies that made it that way did not make it that way, I think, credit to them, because they said, we would like to make everyone's lives miserable. What happened was they were like, we can innovate and create a device that can do all of these other things. We can connect to the world, as what Mark Zuckerberg has always said. We can make it so that you have the access to the Library of Alexandria on command in your phone. What I'm saying is that the misery and the ruin of all of these institutions that we enjoy, but our happiness, first and foremost, okay, our happiness was an unintended consequence of people who thought that they knew better than everybody else. And when you don't regulate those people, and when you don't put up the guardrails via a political administration that is meant to not serve a profit motive, but to serve its actual citizens, at that point, not to sound like I'm running for goddamn office right now, you are doing something in which people have to discover I'm a frog in a pot of boiling water. That's what we are discovering every day because the products are actually that good. They are that good, David. And guess what?
I think you should buy stock in flip phones, Pablo. That's what you should do. Invest Violet's money in flip phones because that's what we're gonna start going backwards. Because the world has spoken. The people have spoken. They don't want this sort of progress. They don't want this sort of connectivity. The wool is over everybody's eyes. You got this one right, Pablo.
Well, listen, I'm just saying, like, you talk to people who there's a guy who designed the feature that is the infinity scroll. We all know it, right? Like, you don't have to actually, like, press a button. It just scrolls infinitely. Like a slot machine. It actually is sort of premised on slot machine technology, that famously non-addictive technology that everybody who uses loves, slot machines. People love it when you watch them play a slot machine. You're like, that person having the time of their life and not sad and old and dying. What is happening is that the people who invented this technology, the infinite scroll, social media at Facebook itself, their philosophy with their own kids is we wouldn't let them use this stuff. And I think you've heard that probably before, but it's real. It's true. And I'm not saying that to say I'm going to throw my phone into the ocean. I'm just saying the people who are telling you that they know the best, okay, are also the people who have access to avoid being stopped in a unique way. It'd be one thing if they had proven it, but they haven't.
I regret all of this. I regret everything that we have done for the last 25 minutes.
Chris leaks.
We're back.
Except for that. I've
Dan,
been okay with that.
If your college was a movie, what movie would it be?
Ooh, good question.
Mine is obviously Rudy, but I don't know. David's maybe Legally Blonde.
So you guys have been looking for how long to try
Back to school, Jessica.
Oh,
That's my college,
reference.
University of Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Movie, apparently.
Is that Rodney?
It came out
Dangerfield?
around the
What is
time
that?
of The Wheel, I believe.
What year is Back to School? What year is Back to School?
I think it was 81.
Wait, I thought it was called Back to School Jessica.
It's Rodney Dangerfield.
Great movie.
Samson is.
I get no respect.
Samson, yes. Samson is
What?
incapable
Limited fake Rodney?
of making a movie reference
lighten the
to
mood,
Jessica
Pablo.
that's not from 1981.
It was 86.
Okay, Back to School.
Liar.
As I recall, Rodney Dangerfield, is that the one he dives in? He's a swimmer of some sort?
Yeah.
Triple Lindy. Yeah.
I've actually seen that one.
Two old guys.
Go look at Rodney. Wait a minute. Why have we not been talking more about this during this segment instead of worrying about Zuckerberg? You're telling me that a 60-year-old Rodney Dangerfield, who looked 60 when he was 30, was shirtless in a movie Back to School and did the triple Lindy in order to win something in a movie.
Yet no one has ever pulled off the triple Lindy before or since. He went from one diving board to the next diving
Wait a
board
minute.
to another diving
no.
board,
He
and
was
then
not
in the
shirtless,
pool.
by the way.
And he wasn't shirtless. He had a skin-tight red tank top on with his beer belly. He was Van Wilder before Van Wilder.
Rodney.
So you guys are telling me that the Trimble Lindy was to go from one diving board to another diving board to another diving board? That was the big spoiler alert, the big finish to the Rodney Dangerfield movie.
His arms are so skinny.
This is what David Samson is saying is
I gave him a 10.
his college experience.
Rodney.
It was filmed at Wisconsin, Dan.
It was so
If
good.
Jessica's going to say Rudy because of Notre Dame, then you have to say that Wisconsin is back to school.
Chris, did you just make a face because he called it Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing there?
It's
You're
Notre
not,
Dame.
you're not better than me.
Yeah.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Is the person who says Notre Dame think he's better than you? He or she is better than you. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by Smirnoff. We do game days. Please drink responsibly. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York.
I'm playing quarterback. Yeah. If I'm that guy, I won't be taking sacks. Yeah. I'm making special throws behind my back. Yeah. Cause I'm that guy, so I pick up your slack. Yeah. But what about this? If I'm just a guy, won't recognize a blitz when it's disguised. I'm throwing picks when we're in overtime. That's just what happens if I'm just a guy. I got some questions. Sam Darnold, that QB throwing it. Geno Smith, that QB throwing it. Brock Purdy, that QB throwing it. Kyler Murray, that QB Let me see what you got, Bo Nix. That QB throwing it. Michael Penix, that QB throwing it. CJ Stroud, that QB throwing it. I'll ask aloud, that QB throwing it. Are you that guy? That QB throwing it. Are you that guy? That QB throwing it. Are you that guy? Are you that guy? That QB throwing it. Are you that guy? That QB throwing it. Are you that guy? That QB throwing it. Are you that guy? Are you that guy?
Better.
Pretty good.
As in, that's better than before, or it needs to be better?
Always needs to be better.
Got it.
A guy, the guy. How many A guys are there at quarterback? Listen to the Viking frustration. I'm going to set up this sound, Stugotz, because, and I will tell you that my Vikings analysis this season has been very simplified. I heard a lot of O'Connell's the best. I heard a lot of Brian Flores proves Tua wrong. Coaching, magic. And I just kept seeing at the center of all, no, that's Sam Darnold. And it's still Sam Darnold at the middle of that. And at the very end, I collapsed because they went 14-3. I'm like, okay, maybe it was Sam Darnold. And then what happened was Sam Darnold was maximum Sam Darnold. And the Minnesota announcers knew it was coming.
Yep.
They live a cold life in the cold, physically in the cold, and now they've lived long enough. Oh, no, the Detroit Lions are better than us. We've lived an entire generation and generation after that and generation after that. We're always better than the Lions. And now we're not anymore. And why is that? Because we have Sam Darnold.
Correct. But at least the Bears haven't caught up. Yeah.
Well, the frustration that is in Minnesota, perhaps you can hear right in here, because I mentioned, Stugotz, that Addison and Naylor and Jefferson and Hawkinson and
Hawkinson, you got it. Aaron Jones.
And Aaron Jones, like that is a lot of people to give one. They traded for Hawkinson, got him from Detroit because they thought, okay, if Naylor's our third best receiver, we can make any quarterback good, even one that's on the scrap heap. And then Minnesota realizes at the same time as the rest of us, oh, no, it's still Sam Darnold.
Behind him, Aaron Jones, Addison in motion to the right. Two receivers left. Rams blitz. Darnold gets away from it. Steps up in the pocket. He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man. Just run. At the 25-yard line, he's sacked for a fifth time.
The throw it, man.
Oh, my
throw it, man.
God.
What a great call.
That's speaking for their entire fan base.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
It's so easy to do from up there.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
Yeah, things are moving really fast down there. He's scared too.
Throw it, man.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
The just run is
It's
great.
so easy. Just run.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
Just run.
I didn't catch that till like the fourth time.
Both of them matter-of-factly they really are surgically dissecting the Rams defense from up there.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
Just run.
That's got to be, I would say, top 2 call of the last 6 months. Only just behind the disaster, what a bad idea call from the Maryland USC game earlier this year.
Can you just put yourself, okay, right now, when Chris Cody argues yesterday, okay, Stugotz, because there's a lot of pressure on everything that we're watching. And Chris Cody, he was the only one in the world who had the coward's take of give me all of Sam Darnold's money, but none of the expectations that come with being an NFL quarterback. And I sign up with everything he's saying. But I too am a coward about this. You know why I'm a coward? Because I'm listening to that sound. And when I hear that announcer just casually say, just run, as if those aren't 300-pound people chasing Sam Darnold, and that his every instinct actually is to just run.
He wish he could.
But the decision he makes to not run is based on knowing that it is best if I throw because I'm not much of a runner. Now, we do have a lot of mobile quarterbacks in the rest of the playoffs, Stugotz, and I've been watching. It's a fascinating evolution to see in the sport. Really fascinating. Oh, when it all shrinks up and Justin Herbert has to throw just from the pocket, even Justin Herbert's not quite mobile enough to be the mobile thing you need because defenses are eating up. Just throw it, man.
Right.
You got to get rid of it in 2 and 3 seconds.
Yes.
So Sam Darnold gets swallowed by some of this. This is, to me, the greatest gift. I will ask the rest of you if you think this is normal, because I do not think it is. And one of the reasons that I think that Aaron Rodgers was a special quarterback that necessarily wasn't winning the way that Tom Brady was 7 times, but would just step up calmly into the teeth of a pocket because he could feel everything that was happening around him wasn't chaos. He just needed to move up 2 steps to see that the field could be seen clearly. With his head up, not worried about either running or getting crushed, Joe Burrow steps into the teeth of the pocket.
Yeah, pocket presence. Yes.
With his face and his head up in a way that's uncommon for the quarterback. And so he can live in a smaller pocket that doesn't require him to be mobile quarterback and still do some of the things that Joe Burrow does.
Right. All those guys are doing when they do that is buying themselves the extra second or 2 that they need to get rid of the football. Right. A half a second maybe. But you're asking Sam Darnold in that spot, when you say just run, man, you're asking him to be Jaden Daniels. He's not Jaden Daniels.
But are you guys not noticing sort of the way that the terrain gets eaten up so that very quickly, all of a sudden, Kirk Cousins isn't serviceable because of how much is changing? You got to get the running backs disposable, cheapened in value. I need my quarterback to either be value or be mobile, preferably both, because I'm going to need somebody that turns run pass option into TJ Watt doesn't matter anymore.
Right. Jaden is the guy most teams are looking for, right? Cheap and mobile.
Well, but I mean,
and great.
But I would say Baker Mayfield is a level of athletic. I would say that C.J. Stroud is a level of athletic. I would think that none of us would dispute that Kyler Murray is obviously very athletic. But I'm talking about the way that sport tries to exploit winning in the margins by finding value in all the places. Of course, if you make a quarterback who's a quarterback and a running back as well, you can save money at running back and then get Derrick Henry for 1 year, $10 million, and boom. You have a Super Bowl.
Yes.
Or if you're Josh Allen and you can run around like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you could beat Denver just handing the ball to James Cook. All game, you could just beat Denver that way.
Makes it easier.
Because we can't stop all of this mobility that's coming our way. But when you're in Minnesota, this happened in 2 games, Stugotz. We went from Sam Darnold's going to make so much this offseason to this.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
Just run.
Just run.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
Who is that guy?
Isn't that America, though, on Sunday, watching on your television? You're just like, just run. It's easy. Look, it's right there.
I don't know who the Just Run guy is. I know the other guy's Paul Allen from KFXN in Minneapolis.
Would you not agree, would all of you not agree that much of the armchair coaching that there is from all of the critics who watch football on Sunday is some degree of that's easy, why wouldn't you just run there? The hardest position in the sport.
Yeah.
Look, it's right. There's a hole right there. Look, it's right there. The hole's right there.
Or like, look, he's open down the field 50 yards. Pick your head up.
Yeah.
Stop looking at the ginormous men trying to tackle you and look downfield while you're about to get smushed.
It's better than that, though, right? Because the decision of just run also doesn't take into calculation that since he's a child, being better than all the other athletes at this sport, Sam Darnold has never thought that the good play is to run 4 yards and get tackled. I that's not the play. I understand that has to be taught, and he has to learn that that's the good play. Mm-hmm. But let me go get hit violently, and I can just go over there for 4 yards. You also have Justin Jefferson, so that's not what you're doing generally. Not a team strength to drive down the field for Sam Darnold 4 yards at a time.
Sam did rush it 67 times for 212 yards this season, a career high.
4 yards at a time. He's gotten very good at it. You understand, though, it's not, and I'm sure Sam Darnold is very athletic compared to just people.
To us.
To normal human beings. Yeah. There was some more.
To the guys calling the game.
Well, but here you go, though, Stugotz. But here's another thing that's harder than people think, okay? Another silly thing that's harder than people think, because you say to the guy calling the game. Is everyone listening to this understanding what a disaster it has been to pay $375 million for Tom Brady to not be even mediocre at broadcasting the speaking of football games? It has not worked. It is likely to end after 1 year. You will have the fairly unprecedented distinction of having a broadcaster walk away from more than $300 million because he's not good at a job, failing after 1 year in a way that Tom Brady has never failed before.
I hope Greg Olson's agent is ready for this negotiation, man.
Listen to what Tom Brady's former teammate Vince Wilfork had to say in general about Tom Brady's broadcasting.
Before you go, what do you think of Tom Brady as a broadcaster?
I don't know.
Been stared at like that in my life, other than my wife has given me those eyes.
I mean, it's like, he's very knowledgeable of the game. Like that's what it is. But I would rather be my quarterback than my, on TV doing what he's doing now.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair.
I love him for my quarterback.
And he may only be doing it this year. He's so involved with the Raiders ownership. I wouldn't be surprised. I think there's a lot of rumblings. Yeah. He does the Super Bowl and he's done.
I heard I heard there's a lot going on with, legally what he can and cannot do. So.
I'm not sure what was more awkward, his reaction to that or when Dan asked him about his marriage.
You are very comfortable talking about how you met your wife, how much you love her, how important she is to you, and that's the reason that I asked the question. I've always admired that about you, that you have no problems whatsoever professing your love.
Well, the thing is, I got a new wife now. Me and Bianca didn't make it. So I moved on. We moved on. It was for the better for both of us. And but we are real, good friends. We are parents first.
Things just got a little awkward there. So let me be the first on this show to congratulate you on the new wife, Vince. Congratulations on feeling whole, feeling complete. Let's talk tailgating. Yeah. Whitney was so disappointed in Dan. Did you see his face?
He looked so pissed off.
It's a good save.
Thank you.
I would say comedically, just rhythmically, in terms of song, you have not heard a better cadence of words chosen than I have a new wife, Me and Bianca didn't make it. Like you would describe, a plane crash. Like you would describe people not living, didn't make it.
We didn't survive.
The marriage didn't survive, but to say I have a new wife, Me and Bianca, it's a funny name as well. Me and Bianca didn't make it.
It's such a cop-out to be like, he's the greatest quarterback of all time. That wasn't the question.
Right. I
That
like him
wasn't
as my
the question.
quarterback. Well, no shit.
Also, like, if he gets to call the Super Bowl and then he's like, I'm done, calling it quits, leaving on top. Okay, well, if Greg Olsen comes back, he's got to wait now like 3 more years to get to call a Super Bowl. That's not fair.
Why have you guys frozen the way I look on the screen there?
They're highlighting your face, and I'm just saying Dan's going to think you guys are making a fat joke.
Well, I look terrible there. I look pale. The lighting's not good in the studio. I look deeply unhealthy. I do look less gray.
You look good now, Dan.
I think you look way better
That's
now.
great.
But why is it on the screen? Is it just to make
The face
fun of
you're
me?
making when it happens. Like,
Right,
This is
right.
your
It's like
awkwardness.
sheepish.
The face of shame.
Like,
yes.
ooh.
Ooh, I did
It's
that.
like ope.
Yeah,
if you
I-
said ope, you would have said ope, but you don't say ope. You just express it.
I have a new wife,
Well, hello, Dan Le Batard.
Wait a minute.
Is that what we're doing?
Why is Skipper here? No,
That's what I thought you were doing.
I
first.
was doing my limited fake Wilfork, not my limited fake Skipper.
It was terrible, though.
Billy, on the other hand, not feeling uncomfortable in this clip. The biggest smile I've ever seen on
Oh, well,
Billy's
this
face.
is the thing. This is why Billy is the secret
Good teammate.
ingredient that he is. Billy, look, yes, focus. Please focus in on Billy. You will see. No, down,
Down
go
one.
down, and focus
Yes.
in as much as you can. Put that on the screen and try and focus just on Billy's face in the background. The reveal of this has Jessica hiding in her own hands because we can all see the delight of Billy in the background. As soon as we focus this up, we will see that Billy Gill, Agent of Anarchy, is just delighted that I have fallen on my face opposite Vince
No,
Wilfork
false
at
face.
his feet.
I love, man. I'm just glad to hear a nice love story.
Look at the difference in faces between Whittingham and Billy.
Let me, yes, it's the difference between the
Jessica sandwiched in the middle.
It's the difference between the responsibilities of the chairs. Yes, that's exactly right. Why do you think Billy hates sitting in that chair so much?
I mean, we were supposed to ask him about barbecuing and tailgating, not about his marriage, and I think that's what that look is. Just stick
Agreed.
to the script.
Agreed.
No one said ask about his marriage.
Nobody loves love like this man, Vince Wilfork.
It is so perfect. Witty, just Billy. That encapsulates the entire show.
The worst part of that for me is I was in reruns. It had worked the last time I talked to him. The marriage didn't.
Don't ask him about it next time because we don't know what happened with.
Right, you never know.
Me and Bianca didn't make it. It's somewhere between a party you couldn't get to and a boat lost at sea. Didn't make it, is it? I think it seems more extreme than just a marriage falling apart. Does it not? Didn't make it feels like something between marriage falling apart and life ending.
It's a really sad way to say it.
He said that they're still friends.
Yeah.
So I'm sure
It's
that's
like, oh,
Yeah,
we didn't
but
make it.
we didn't make it. I'm with Dan. It's an awkward, odd way. It seems it's a bit much.
It's actually a nice way of saying
Yeah,
it.
That's what I mean.
we're
It's
divorced
like,
now.
oh, it's like, no.
Terrible
we didn't make
battle
it.
custody. She got the house. And
Alimony.
Oh, no, I hate her. Like, it could have been a lot worse.
could have gotten a lot worse. Yeah.
She got
You're
half.
right.
He
You
did
know
a
what?
great job. Yeah.
A success.
I got the rowboat.
Yeah,
so
you're
that's
right.
fine.
You're right.
Get everything in the divorce. It's not fair.
I got the
Positive
dog.
outlook, yeah. Billy, I aired and I've aired today. I aired before and I've aired today in not getting to the fact that you have now. You came in the other day and you simply said, "Big night for ghosts."
Oh, it was on Monday.
Really?
Yeah, wasn't it?
Because Darnold was seeing ghosts.
Yeah, Darnold was seeing ghosts
Darnold,
again. Then we
yeah.
had the flashbacks to the last time he was seeing ghosts.
Just run.
Everybody was talking about the ghosts that he was seeing. Good night for ghosts.
It was like the whole universe made that same
Yeah.
sort of callback at the same time. Like several group chats, just the ghost emoji. It's like the thing he's going to be best known for now.
Oh, but can we think about, honestly, can we think for a moment about the haunting and the humanity in what I'm about to say? Sam Darnold cares deeply about being a great quarterback, and for 17 weeks he had us fooled. Like, he's been up and down. A Jets organization relied on him. He was great at USC. He was supposed to be a first-round pick, and then his career was dead. Careers aren't dead in this sport. Maybe you can be Baker Mayfield. Maybe you can get into a contract. And then you're playing in the most important game of your life for a contract, and just last week you went From 14-2, you got everything conquered to, we're a 5 seed going on the road. That's hard to win on as a quarterback on the road. Daniels was the only one who did it this weekend. He's a rookie. He's got a future that you don't have, Sam Darnold, right now. We thought you had a future going into the offseason. We thought you were going to get money. And the reason that this is happening is you're in a playoff game, and we all feel that this is going to happen to you. And now you feel that it's going to happen to you. And the pressure of it is falling on you, and there's a pass rush, but you're feeling pass rush where it's not. Holy shit is that feeling alone when your skill guys are great and your entire future is playing out on television and everyone sees, he's just Sam Darnold. And you're like, oh my God, I'm just Sam Darnold. I'm just Sam Darnold. I see ghosts everywhere. I'm not as confident as I need to be. It reminded me, actually, I told you I used to get into bar fights, and I retired.
That's a sentence.
From bar fighting.
I retired the time that I got
hang
it.
up the gloves or what?
I appreciate that you guys are making fun of me about this, but it's a horrible self-realization to have, which is where you've started a fight and you realize that the person across from you is not afraid of that fight, and then it means that you are, because you've registered a thought in a moment that's supposed to be about muscle memory. Sam Darnold thinking that he's Sam Darnold in that moment when America's thinking he's Sam Darnold and the Rams think he's Sam Darnold, and now his teammate Justin Jefferson thinks, oh, bleep, I'm still with Sam Darnold. He fooled me for 16 games.
I don't know, Dan, he's still going to get paid. He's not going to get paid what he was going to get paid a couple of weeks ago, but he had 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and I look, and this is a product of the Jets just being a lousy organization. Last year, not this year, last year was his rookie year. With Kyle Shanahan, he learned under that quarterback coach, that quarterback whisperer, and then came to Minnesota, and this is really his first full year as a starting quarterback. He gave you 4,300 yards, 14 wins, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I know he was lousy in the biggest game.
Two biggest games.
I'm talking most about how alone it must feel when we all can see you're seeing danger that's not there. When an announcer in the press box is this comfortable with his frustration of, oh no, I had hope, and my quarterback sees fear that isn't registering with me.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
I mean, I hear you. I feel like Viking fans and those announcers should applaud Sam Darnold. The quarterback they drafted, the guy who was supposed to be their quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, went down, and in walks Sam Darnold and got them 14 wins, kept them relevant the entire year.
We have the other call that I was referencing, which I contend was the best call of the season. This was the end of the first half of the Maryland-USC game. Maryland's down. They're fumbling. It looks like they have no hope. They did end up winning the game by 1 point. But here is the call of the Maryland fumble.
They're not going to clock it.
That is shouted at the sky by someone falling to their knees.
They're not going to clock it. Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea! Oh, my goodness!
I actually want to ask Jordan something about what he just did there. Jordan Schultz is the Fox Sports NFL insider, co-host of Why Is Draymond Green Talking About Football. There are a lot of people in the insider space. His information is very good. He had something on Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders the other day. But when you come on and you say, my pledge, is it because you're such a hurry gathering information that you don't have time for the word pleasure? You don't have time for actual pleasure or saying the word. You got to just say my pledge.
No, I actually stole that. It's so funny you asked that, Dan. But I actually stole that term from the movie I Love You, Man, when Paul Rudd is talking to Jason Segel. And he has all these different phrases he says that aren't really a part of his vocabulary. But because he's so awkward and so desperate to create a friendship, he keeps saying things that he doesn't really want to say. And one of them is my pledge. And I stole it because I thought it was so funny. So that's actually the reason.
I love that movie, Jobin.
It's a great scene. It's a great scene.
Jobin is so good. My favorite scene of that movie is the dog poop when he doesn't pick it up and someone says something to him and he just yells at them and he just runs at them and yells, not even anything. He just makes a loud noise. That scene, and also the fact that Jason Segel's actual day-by-day job is essentially to go to open houses and steal their food.
That is correct. I also think that slapping the bass is a rare phrase that we're not making really movies that carry over for 10 years with funny things like that you'll remember. But I want to go back, and I failed earlier in the show. I want to show this to Jordan Schultz because I have failed as a network to correct the generation gap we have around here. When David Samson and Adnan Virk start talking about movies, they know more than just about anybody I'm listening to on movies. However, they're talking about movies that are ancient, like ancient, not Asian, ancient. They are talking about Back to School 1986. And what I want to play for Jordan Schultz, I don't know if you're familiar. Do you know what I'm talking about here? Because I want to just show you something and tell you that it's better than anything Paul Rudd has done. Are you familiar with the movie Back to School?
No, but that looks great. Oh,
right,
wow.
So, yes, this is Rodney Dangerfield. This is the triple Lindy right here. This is Rodney Dangerfield going from from diving board to diving board. No one's ever done the triple Lindy before. This is an amazing dive to end this movie with.
Is so good.
Yes, a very not physically fit Rodney Dangerfield.
This is on.
That's right.
Real.
That's right. And there it is. The please put that picture in picture. I want that to play for the rest of the show. Jessica, do you believe that this is a movie worth watching because Rodney Dangerfield has just nailed the triple Lindy?
I mean, I've done the triple Lindy, so I'm not that impressed.
Really?
That looks like a death-defying Evel Knievel type act.
Okay, yeah, and Jessica has not done it, and it doesn't deserve the look at me, Louie. And you've just
because I'm a woman.
You've devalued.
Great question.
It is because you're a woman. Women can't do that. Only Rodney Dangerfield can. Clearly, you have to have a penis to do that.
Muscle memory.
Let me remind the audience that this episode of the Dan Le Batard Show is brought to you by DraftKings.
Good timing for that.
The crown is yours.
I didn't have a comeback. I'm sorry.
Jerry Jones has spoken with Deion Sanders. Jordan, can you tell me what the news is there and how real this is? Or is this just Jerry loves marketing and, hey, look, I can get around the Rooney Rule by doing this as well?
Yeah, Jerry is a master marketer, but really what it came down to, Dan, was over the last week when he realized that Mike McCarthy's contract was in limbo and that there was a possibility, albeit a strong one, that they weren't going to extend him. They decided, Jerry did, that it was time to try and get ahead because he was already behind. Don't forget, because he waited, he could not interview Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn or others this week because of the way the NFL sets up its interview policy. So as a result, he started doing his back channeling and realizing that Deion Sanders could potentially be a fit to become the next head coach of Dallas. And ultimately, he ends up reaching out to Deion, as I reported the other night, and realizes that Deion is potentially interested, knowing full well that Deion over the last couple of years has been very clear publicly that he does not want to coach in the NFL. But when the Cowboys become an option or at least a possibility, that's a call he has to take. It's a call, frankly, that with the relationship he has with Jerry Jones, it wasn't even necessarily an interview. They haven't even scheduled an interview, but it was, I think, the mutual respect that the two men have as peers. And I've said this a lot over the last couple of days. There's not a lot of people that can match Jerry Jones in terms of charisma, panache, prestige, let alone understand the cachet and gravitas of an organization like the Cowboys. Deion Sanders is one of them.
It just doesn't seem like it's real. It seems like they're both profiteers and masters of getting attention. Like, how real is it? How them talking is fine and interesting, but how is it not just cosmetic? Does anyone believe that Jerry Jones would turn over his organization to someone like Deion Sanders, who played the way Deion Sanders does, coached the way Deion Sanders does, and would occupy a position that Jerry Jones needs to be egoless?
You're right. And I hear what you're saying, and I asked that question. And one of the answers that was given to me by someone in the Dallas building was Deion has run his operation in Colorado much like an NFL program over the last couple of years. And it's a small sample size, and he's still very green as a head coach. but the way he assembled the staff, the way he relates to the players, and that was really the message that kept getting reiterated to me, is that Dion is going to relate to players in a way that they have not had, with all due respect to a Mike McCarthy or a Jason Garrett. And on top of that, Dion has also said, as we know, and this is a question that is very valid, Dan, what you're saying, that he would only consider the NFL if he got to coach his sons. Well, Dallas has a quarterback. His name's Dak Prescott. They just paid him a record-setting deal. If Dion were to come to Dallas, make no mistake, Dak would be the quarterback. It's not going to be Shedeur Sanders. So there's a lot of factors here. And then there's also been the question mark of, would Dion use Dallas as a leverage point, a leverage play with Colorado? I was told no, and that he has a lot of respect and too good of a relationship with Rick George, the AD there. But there's also a big buyout. There's a lot that has to happen. And it's also without question that Dallas is going to do an extensive search. But it's been made clear to me in no uncertain terms that should Dion want to pursue the job, should Dion have interest in the job, that he would be at or near the top of the list.
Chris Cody, I have seen, forgive me for a second, Jordan, the good people at Cuervo have arrived, and we like to take care of the sponsors who take care of us, and the sponsors who take care of us like to take care of us. And what are you doing on your phone right now? Are you breaking news right now on your phone?
The phone, the one on the phone can wait. It's not urgent. That's like an hour or two away. But the jerseys is actually a sweet story, because it comes down to my daughter, who's 10 and loves nothing more in the world than Taylor Swift. And I told her and my son that I would get them a Travis Kelce jersey. And then my son said, well, I like Mahomes better. So I got them each a Mahomes and Kelce jersey. And I've essentially put it in my office until they realize that it's their jersey. And until they come in and physically remove the jerseys, which my wife says they will in the next couple of weeks when they really understand this is what's happening, it's still mine.
A toast to front runners. We've got kids who are front runners. A toast to Jordan Schultz's front running kids.
And Cuervo.
They've been with the Chiefs ever since Taylor Swift got there. To Jordan
Correct.
Schultz and the front running children.
And Cuervo.
Thank you, Cuervo. I think Chris Cody just faked a shot. Did you have the shot or did you fake a shot?
Been sipping tequila all
We
day,
have been
baby.
sipping tequila. You know what? I'm slurring my words because we have been sipping tequila since they got here. Jordan, among the people in the sport, the fear of the Rams, is it throughout the league that everyone knows that the Rams can beat anybody and fear their coach and their quarterback and their receivers? Or is that just the public getting away, getting away from itself in the week of wild card play, where a team looks good and then all of a sudden you think they can beat the team like Detroit that's got a 222 point differential? And are the Rams are the Rams? Should the Rams, given what the Lions did this season, be among the big underdogs?
No, I would say as the Rams started to get healthy, the second half of the season, Dan, it became clear among the league circles that was a very, very dangerous team. And that Sean McVay, as long as he had a healthy Cooper Kupp, as long as Jared Verse continued to cause havoc on the defensive side of the ball, killing quarterbacks, that this team had a chance to make a real run. And that nobody, not only in the NFC West, but nobody in the NFC really wanted to play them. So the Rams are a very good football team. And as good of a year as Minnesota had with the 14 wins and the reclamation project that was Sam Darnold, the Rams beating them the way they did in Arizona was not really a surprise, because that's really who this team has been the last 6 weeks. Stafford's been playing at a very high level. They're incredibly well coached, and they're finally healthy. And they have, I don't know, one of the best 4 or 5 running backs in the league. All due respect to everyone, Saquon and Derrick Henry. Calvin Williams is as good as anyone. He is an absolute wrecking ball, and he gives them the type of balance that they so desperately have wanted. So I'm excited about that team. I still think Detroit is the most complete team, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone say differently. And they have the best 1-2 coordinator punch in football with Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. And then Philadelphia has the best offensive and defensive line combo. The NFC is very tough, and I could see it going a whole lot of ways. But I think top to bottom, most balanced, even with all the injuries and all the IR, Detroit's still number one.
How do you feel about Funyuns?
I am a big Funyuns guy. That was my number one snack growing up until I realized it wasn't very good for you, Dan. It was very bad for you. My mom used to tell me, Funyuns, it's you want to play basketball, Jordan, Funyuns is going to make you thirsty. You're not going to have the nutrition on the court. So I stopped eating them when I was like 12.
But Jordan, that's not why you didn't make the NBA, buddy.
Oh, I know. I'm well aware. I was never going to the NBA, but I did enjoy a fairly successful high school career and did play 4 years in college, which, considering my athleticism or lack thereof, is pretty good.
Maybe if you didn't have the Funyuns, you would have made the NBA now. I take it back.
No, I had the lowest. I don't know if I want to say this on this program.
No, do it. Yeah,
but
yeah.
I will say this.
Just friends here.
I had. This is very tough to admit on national television. I'm debating in my mind whether or not.
Oh, you're here now.
I'm just going to do it.
Come on.
Because I already told you the
on,
story.
Jobin.
I told you the story.
We're friends. We're friends now. You got to do it. You got to impress your friends.
I had the lowest vertical leap in Seattle University basketball history.
That's impressive.
A record breaker.
I believe it was like 22 and a half, which basically means at a shade under 6'3", I could grab the rim, maybe, if I was feeling good. That's how unathletic I was.
There's no shot you could do the triple Lindy.
No triple Lindy for
Not
me.
like
No
Jessica.
single Lindy for me.
Put it on the poll, please. Would Jordan Schultz have made the NBA if not for the Funyuns?
Dan, I can't express to you how unathletic, how slow I was. In fact,
you
as I developed in
did.
college, I got the nickname the Matador because my defense was literally the Matador.
Yes. How do you feel about wearing shoes in the house?
I'm really into the like the comfortable slippers. I love those, but those shoes don't go outside. So outdoor shoes are a serious no-no inside the house in the Schultz household.
How are we about that in the shipping container? Because you asked me earlier this week, Chris, you asked me a question because I dropped the banana on the floor without the peel, and I was thinking about eating the banana after it was on the floor. You asked me if we were a house where we wear the shoes inside, and I did wear shoes inside and didn't know any better until I got married. And then I stopped wearing shoes inside. Are you guys wearing shoes inside, or do the shoes get left outside?
I really don't feel that strongly either way, but if I walk into a friend's house and they're one of those people where it's like shoes off at the door, that's always annoying. Like, I'm all for clean houses, but just like someone.
Yeah, Chris, I don't do that.
Yeah,
I don't mandate that. I think that's a personal decision, and I go back to a Larry David episode in Curb where everyone is supposed to take their shoes off and Larry doesn't really want to. I feel like it's the guest decision.
Is it though? Because what if you assume that there are shoes off house and you just walk into the house and you take off your shoes and just make yourself comfortable uninvited?
It also depends if there's socks involved. Like, I don't want someone's bare little toesies on my couch. I also don't know if I want their dirty shoes, though, but it depends what the shoes are, I think.
No, that's a great point by Jessica. The worst case scenario is the barefoot, which is disgusting. That's a no-go.
Roy?
I keep my shoes on in my house.
Let me see those feet. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do you wear your shoes inside the house?
For my own house, I have a designated pair of slippers, like hard bottom platform slippers I wear around. So I feel like I have shoes on, and my feetsies don't get cold. But they never go outside, so they're clean.
Man, the best part about this cold season for us down here in South Florida,
I've been loving it.
We get about 2 weeks of it, is the socks in the house and during nighttime. Because 10 months out of the year, 11 months out of the year, you can't wear socks to bed in Florida. It's too hot. I love going to bed with your socks on. If your feet slip out of the covers, you're still warm. It's the best.
Yeah, that's South Florida. That's the best of South Florida. We know in New York today, I woke up, it was 19 degrees. So, enjoy that.
Look at me, Louie.
Chris, were you trying to be cute there?
I'm just saying, when my foot,
little toesies
because
with his little
sometimes
socks.
if I don't have socks on, if I don't have socks on and my toes slip out, I'm like, oh, get back in there. What are you doing out here? But if I have socks on, I'm like, you can go out there for a little bit, go out, get a little fresh air,
Explore.
I don't know what I'm doing there, but I do believe that Jess has feetsies, but you don't have toesies, and I don't know what I'm doing there because I think you have thick, freckled feet.
I don't know. Let's see him.
Oh no, let's not see him.
He's got some Hobbit feet, I bet.
I just think they're thick. I think they're like canned hams.
Thank you, Dan.
Freckled.
I didn't know you had that thought of me, but
Freckled.
thank you.
No, I think I don't think
you think it's thick, huh?
I don't think your feet are cute. We're going to get a look here. We're going to get a reveal.
Oh,
there
got
it
a
is.
sock.
Are you wearing
Well,
socks?
It's a
no,
clean
with the
sock.
No, a sock doesn't. Well, you got.
We just did a whole thing that we don't like feet.
No,
I'm
the
surprised
feet
you
are
have
behind the
socks that have
paywall.
holes.
We're talking
Yeah.
about
those are
what-
good
Some
socks.
do.
Those are good socks. Yeah.
you.
foot.
No, we're not.
Foot.
Ew.
Foot.
What are you putting on the
Foot.
screen?
And
Greg's
there is
foot?
there are Chris Cody's
No.
feet right
Oh,
there.
come
Thank you
on.
on the screen. Toast to Cuervo. Thank you, Jordan. A toast to Cuervo. Jordan, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate the information, sir.
My pleasure. Always enjoy it. Bye.
Dan, you've been saying to us that you want to get better with fan engagement. Well, here it is. Thanks to our friends at Boost Mobile, we are now doing Boldest Take from the Week. We want you listeners. Send us something funny. Send us a hot take. But one thing it has to be is bold. You dial the number 718-540-9013. You give us your boldest take, and we will be playing that for the rest of the show. It's good stuff.
You said boldest take from the week. The imaging behind me says boldest take from the weekend. Is
Don't really think, I'm saying it now. Give us your boldest take. Call in 718-540-9013. Give us your boldest take. If you happen to do over the weekend, give us your boldest take from the weekend. If you do it midweek, give it to us from the week. It really doesn't matter. But either way, the Boost Mobile boldest take from the weekend is presented by Boost Mobile, the newest 5G network in the country.
How do you guys feel in general about how Chris delivered all of that?
I think he did fine till you then made a sort of slightly pedantic correction, and then he had to try to save it.
We know what that means.
Stop being pedantic is the real note here.
The middle word in pedantic is always Dan. You guys put behind me weekend, and you said week, and I'm just trying to get the advertising right because we appreciate our sponsors. This is the first time one's making an appearance here. We're celebrating Cuervo today. We want to show our sponsors that we love our sponsors, so I just want to do it right. I'm not being pedantic.
The literal definition of pedantic, someone who's too concerned with literal accuracy or formality. It doesn't matter if it's from the weekend or the week. I think the idea, the gist of it was delivered accurately.
You know what? You're generally correct. I would say that it is a life principle rule to if you know the general meaning of what someone is saying, you become an asshole by correcting them when you know. Except when you're trying to please sponsors with sponsored content and you want to make sure to get these things correct.
I think they would have been fine with it, probably less so with what we're doing now.
Yeah.
But we're doing this on Wednesday, Dan. If we did it on Monday, I would have said weekend. I'm just doing the math that it's weird to pitch something from the weekend on Wednesday.
So what day should people call?
Any
just to
day
be
they
clear?
want. That's
Okay.
the point that Dan is getting caught up on. That doesn't matter.
All right.
Whether it's a Thursday, give it from the week. If it's a Monday, give it from the weekend. Either way, we love Boost Mobile, and we appreciate their sponsorship, and you need to check them out because they're the newest 5G network in the entire country.
I think Chris doesn't want people to not call because they're worried it's not from the weekend. I think that he's sort of opening this up to anyone. And so now we're getting really bogged down in the details when people probably don't even remember what the initial read was.
The key is to be bold, all right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter when you do it, be bold, just like Boost Mobile.
So you can call 718-540-9013 any day of the week with a bold take. I'm asking.
And it's presented by Boost Mobile, the newest 5G network in our country.
I love that it's here. It's been a while since we had phone lines around here. I was surprised to miss the phone lines. I've always mocked the phone lines. We used to have, I don't know if you guys remember this or are old enough to remember this. You could go through some of this in the oral history, especially the supercuts, which I've enjoyed. We have done this kind of thing before where we have a hot take hotline. And what ends up happening is Stugotz ends up calling again and again on his way home.
It's open to anyone. If Stugotz gives the boldest take, then we'll play it. Yeah. Be bolder than Stugotz, audience. Yeah.
The other things that I wanted to get to today that I'm hoping that we have time for, there are an assortment of them. I am told finally, after much, much pushing and shoving, you guys finally have some gas bags of the week to give me. You guys finally have two competing gas bags. I've asked you to do it every week. We haven't done it for months. We did it like 2 or 3 times and then fell right into a ditch with a fart sound. Do you have good gas bags of the week to compete against each other? Yes or no, Chris? Are you confident? You keep telling me it's because your standard is so discerning that it's hard to get. Everyone's giving takes, and it's hard for you to find one that's gas bag worthy when all I hear is Dan Dockich over here saying idiotic thing after idiotic thing, but you guys aren't listening to to real gas bags.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Overall, I'm feeling less confident than I was before this segment just because of how this segment has started. But I have 2 nominees here. I have one from Bill Simmons and one from Colin Cowherd. Which one
do you
want
think
first?
is better? Which one do you think should win? Well, let's find out together.
Let's do Bill Simmons first, talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I officially think Pittsburgh's the best team in the AFC.
Oh, come on. You can't after a Jameis game. You can't claim that.
I think they're the best team. I feel the safest about them if you start nitpicking all these AFC teams.
Really?
I feel the most comfortable with Pittsburgh.
That was 14 days ago.
Oh, no.
No, it wasn't.
It was mid-December. What's the math on that? More than 14 days ago.
Like
14 sounds good, though. It was like 20-something days ago. Mid-December.
That was after they.
I officially think
after they lost to Jameis on Thursday night and then ended up losing 4 of their last
I think
5
this was
games.
after the second Browns game.
So that's
they
against. Okay, that's the one they won, and so he's saying after that they went on a 5-game losing streak.
After that, they played the Chiefs, Ravens, and Eagles in the span of 11 days, which when the schedule came out, everyone circled that as like, ooh, this could be nasty. It was. Yikes. Not a take I would have made after that Browns game.
But they were coming off of a big win against the Bengals. It was December 8th. They had beat the Ravens, the Commanders. Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
They lost all of those games by 14+ points. So no, there wasn't really. Yes, they were playing against good teams, but there wasn't anyone in the league losing quite like that.
I commend Bill Simmons for this take.
I think we got a better one, though. We have Colin Cowherd comparing Lamar Jackson and Sam Darnold.
Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold. Look at the numbers. Who do you trust more in a playoff game? Are you sure it's Lamar? And I love Lamar. But what I said years ago, I said there's some Andrew Luck here.
He's saying that about Sam Darnold. There's some Andrew Luck in Sam Darnold. When was that? This was recent also, in December.
That's crazy. He's been saying the same thing since like 2016.
Can you guys find for me, because there was a historic Cowherd take that aged most poorly as it regarded to instantaneous analysis on a famous quarterback of some sort that was spectacularly intergalactically wrong. And I've told you guys before that Colin Cowherd, like some others, have figured out that it doesn't matter what your words are. There is money to be made in being wrong, loudly wrong, as long as you just get it out there and it gets aggregated, because credibility doesn't much matter anymore as long as you're just getting the eyes for whatever it is that you're saying. We will get to that in a second if I can remember it. But Jessica, I wanted to talk to you about this Brad Pitt scammer lady and explain to me what is happening here with AI. I get fooled very easily by AI. Is this happening to the rest of you?
Oh, man. The thing is, this isn't even AI. I think it's bad Photoshop. But, Dan, even you, I think, wouldn't have been fooled by this. These are pictures that allegedly were sent to a woman in France by Brad Pitt, asking her for money, pretending to be Brad Pitt / Brad Pitt's mom, saying that he was in the hospital and that he needed help and he needed money. And this poor woman, I do feel bad because she is just getting eviscerated online for this. But this poor woman was scammed out of over $800,000, according to People.com, sending this money to this person pretending to be Brad Pitt. And these photos are just so bad. It's like it's almost unfathomable how this could happen.
My favorite is the bottom right one, where it's just like someone doing surgery and it's just Brad Pitt's like face popping up.
I thought that was Mike Ryan from this distance just popping up in the surgery room. I didn't even know, like from behind a corner of the surgery room, because it's so far and it looks so incredibly fake. But I've got to think that if I'm regularly being fooled by AI stuff that's not this crude, it's happening to everybody, correct? Like, especially the voice stuff, like the fake audio. How easy is it to fool you on all of this fake audio that they can make to sound exactly like, Mike Tomlin is saying something he's not actually saying?
Well, I was going to say more so where they can call you saying like they're calling you from like your loved one's phone and use their voice. That scares me. The Mike Tomlin ones, I pretty much always know that those ones are fake.
I'm trying to find like the level of celebrity that I might fall for something like this. Like if Josh Gad reached out to me.
That's a really good one.
And he's
local
just like,
South
he's
Florida
local.
guy.
Would he reach out
I'm
to
just
you?
saying.
Friends with Dookie Lang.
I'm trying
He's
to
got that Disney money.
WPLG.
I'm trying to find the celebrity out there that if I got an email and
perfect.
there's a bunch of pictures and I'm like, hey, I need $70,000 by tomorrow, I'd be like, I gotta help Josh Gad.
You have $70,000?
No, I'd call my mom.
He'll be Josh Glad.
But I'm just saying, like, that's the level.
Mom, Josh Gad needs $800,000.
I'd probably set up like a 3-way Zoom with me, my mom, and Josh Gad, and like, let's really talk this out. How can we do this?
He'd be Josh Glad.
He would for the help.
He would.
But that...
Is it the Josh Rosen is a better prospect than Lamar Jackson take that you were thinking about with Cowherd?
I found a clip here.
It's a Lamar Jackson take, and I want to get to it in a second. I'll be really Josh Glad when we get to it. I just can't believe how bad a joke that was. But
would you help Josh Gad if he asked, Dan?
Really nice guy.
What's he asking for?
He needs $70K.
No,
stat.
But he needs it.
I will acknowledge, though, that comedically, the syllable count, name, and visual of Josh Gad was perfectly chosen by Chris Gotti. Like, just as someone randomly calling you and they've got a name and the name is Josh Gad, I don't think you could have picked a better celebrity for me to, like, let that go to voicemail because I don't want to cash that favor.
Wow. Okay, so if it's the money and the amount, which would you rather give Josh Gad in a time of peril? A kidney or $70,000?
Mine or my mom's?
Your kidney, but it's free.
Well, I guess if the person, even if they're a scammer, actually needs the kidney, at least like the kidney's going to a good place. Yeah. Whereas like if you're just giving them money, they don't need, like they're just blowing this on something, right? Like
no, he needs a kidney, but it's either your kidney or $70,000. He can buy a kidney on the black market.
But if someone's getting a kidney.
Josh
no
Gad
what.
is getting a kidney.
Actual Josh Gad.
Yeah, he needs one.
Okay, I thought this was scammer Josh Gad.
No, Josh Gad needs one.
Because like donating a kidney to a stranger is like, even if you're scammed out of it, you know, it's a good thing to do, I guess.
I was just doing this more along the lines of an email I would actually believe. Whereas Brad Pitt, I would be like, someone's messing with me. Whereas if it was Josh Gad, I'd be like, this is so random.
Insane. Like this woman was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Brad Pitt's calling me.
If I'm an organ donor and Josh Gad needs my kidney and I'm donating my kidney to Josh Gad, who pays the copay? Do I have to pay my insurance to donate a kidney to Josh
both
Gad?
have to pay for it.
Because like there's a medical procedure that's taking place that presumably my insurance will cover, which I'm sure they'd ask, like, why are we covering an elective surgery where you're donating kidney? But do I pay to donate my kidney or does the recipient?
Maybe some people's insurance covers both surgeries.
You would think, right? Like a car accident situation.
You say it's a good question, Jessica, but I will show you and have to show you, and it's not just because I've been sipping here Cuervo for about 40 minutes. I need to shine a light on what Billy just did there, which is he turned a conversation we were having that was already absurd about Josh Gad asking Chris Gotti for money.
Dan.
Yeah, and then made it about a kidney instead the money. Then made it about copay when all I want is the Lamar Jackson sound. So I'm only
I've learned Gad would be paying the copay.
I am only willing to go so far with Billy on this. He's making me Josh sad. I want to play the Lamar Jackson sound on Colin Cowherd, please. This is the analysis as Lamar Jackson is coming out of college.
And I've said Lamar Jackson's a more talented version of Tim Tebow. And all I get is pushback. All I get is pushback. And I say, no, you watch what's going to happen. Baltimore and Denver were proud franchises with Super Bowls, getting very frustrated with their head coach on the hot seat. Both guys were overdrafted. Both guys are projects, not prospects. Tim Tebow was a project. He was never a prospect. Lamar Jackson's a project. He's not Sam Darnold. He's not Josh Rosen. You watched them last night. He's not even close. And here you have a young quarterback who runs right now better than he throws, and he's new, flashy, and fun, and he's hope. He is hope. And now, add Twitter and stir. Lamar Ball is what we may be calling him by November. Of course Lamar's not close. I've never thought he was close. That's why I keep calling him a project. I never call him a prospect. Sam Darnold's a prospect. Okay, Baker Mayfield's a prospect. They'll play this year, and they'll be able to move the chains. They'll be able to go. No. This is a project.
Meh. So the fake Brad Pitt said he had kidney cancer and needed a loan because his bank accounts were locked as a result of his ongoing divorce with Angelina Jolie. So there was a kidney involved.
Dan, would you give Pitt your kidney? You guys see Tebow's having a baby, speaking of Tim Tebow?
I saw that everywhere yesterday.
He seems like he'd be a fun dad. But also take like go out for a catch, like he'd be throwing pretty hard, right?
Taking things very seriously all the time.
Yeah.
I need the baby's going to come out in Tebow. Remember Tebowing?
Oh.
What a craze.
I need to hear this list again of quarterbacks that Lamar Jackson is not.
He's not Sam Darnold. He's not Josh Rosen. You watched them last night. He's not even close.
He's not Josh Rosen. That's true.
He's not close to either one of them. He's not wrong about that.
I saw this on Twitter. I need to credit who posted this. One of my Calgorithm friends. Cal's had more quarterbacks start in the Super Bowl than USC.
Wow. Do you know that?
We're going to have Patrick Surtain on with us in a little bit. Patrick Surtain was the greatest cornerback in Miami Dolphins history, and Patrick Surtain, his son, is now the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, which took me aback because when's the last time a corner won Defensive Player of the Year? Their pass rush was so good, at least in part, because Patrick Surtain was able to always cover the number one receiver well. He was unbelievable as a corner.
2019, Stephon Gilmore. 2009, Charles Woodson before that, so it's very rare.
Man, all right. Both of them, father and son, next. In Dolphins history, and is the second best cornerback on this particular call. I think I can say that. I could probably say it better than that if I had another chance at it. But what we have on the line here, one cornerback is a 3-time Pro Bowler and an All-Pro selection at cornerback. But the other is also a 3-time Pro Bowler and a 2-time first-team All-Pro selection at quarterback. And he's done it in 4 seasons.
Yep.
So I'm guessing that it breaks Patrick Surtain's heart and fills his heart to say publicly as a cocky cornerback that his son is already better than he is.
Dan, I have told you, Patrick, I have told Dan this a number of times. It is always better to watch your kid do it than do it yourself. So I am guessing you're totally fine with your son being the best cornerback in the family.
I'm totally fine with it. I didn't want to relinquish the title quite yet, but it's obvious.
But do I say anything that's incorrect, Patrick Jr. or Patrick II? Excuse me. Can you tell me whether or not what kind of memories do you have of your father's greatness? Did you know he was great?
Yeah, I knew he was great. Later down the lines, before I was a bit younger, so. I don't remember it vividly, the times when he played for the Dolphins, but I still could recall like memories back in the day when he played with the Chiefs, and I knew instant greatness right away. So that's when I realized the type of player he was. So,
Patrick Sr., do you regard yourself as the best defensive back or the best corner in Dolphins history?
I do. Obviously, I played with the other greats and Sam Madison, played with some with T-Buck. But I just think, the number of years I was there, 7 years, the stats I was able to accumulate, the Pro Bowls, just being an all-around player, played in the slot, got 7.5 sacks, obviously 37 picks. It's up for debate. But I think my time here and the work that I put in, I definitely will consider. And if you ask anybody else that question, they would say the same thing. So.
Patrick Jr., did you know those stats of your father? 7.5 sacks. How many sacks you got?
I don't got no sacks. Yeah, he got the upper stat on me right there. I ain't get no sacks on the QB yet. That's a stat I'm trying to accumulate as well. So.
But wait a minute. The reason that your teammates got more sacks than anyone in the NFL this year is because you're back there as Defensive Player of the Year covering people. So you didn't get the sacks, but you got the sacks.
Yeah, I could say I helped along the lines of the sacks. I could put my name in it for sure. Help the guys get some pressure a little bit. They helped me as well too. But my coverage in the back end helps a lot too. So. You can say that.
Who do you regard as in your class as a corner? Stingley, obviously, this postseason is getting a lot of talk. But I think you're the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year, are you not? Like, who do you regard as good as you at this?
I mean, that's a good question. Obviously, everybody got their tiers of corners. I mean, I think I solidified myself consistently these past couple of years. So I could definitely say I'm at the top of the game right now, honestly, for myself. But yeah, Stingley, he's had a great year, all-pro year. He's a great cornerback. Jalen Ramsey, another dude that's been doing consistently. Sauce Gardner, those guys for sure. Slay, I don't know. It's just a lot of good corners in the league that you could put in that class for sure. Because with the league now, it's transcends to a passing game, so you need a lot of good corners in this league. So, I mean, you could name a whole bunch, and it couldn't be wrong. So,
But do you think you're the defensive player of the year?
yeah, I believe so. I think my tape speaks for itself. What I've able to do this year, holding number one receivers like under 30 yards, damn near every game. So I think the stats, the tape, the measurable speaks for itself. So why not?
Dad, what's the game you saw that you were like, he can shut down anybody? There any games that you're a little scared before it because you're like, okay, this one's a challenge for my son?
Not really, because I've seen them do it for so long. Just going back to high school, college, and just I vividly remember his rookie year where they just lined him out there like, you got this guy, man. And he was playing with some veteran guys and Ronald Darby and Justin Simmons back there. And they had trust in him from day one to go out there and handle his business on the perimeter. And as the years have gone by, he's just he progressed in his game. And now, he's probably one of the rare cornerbacks, in the game that follows the number one receiver. And I think that alone, and being able to shadow those guys, because the receivers now, man, they're so good. They're coming into the pros, ready-made, and they're really good players. And for him to go and follow the top guys each and every week, it says something about him and says how much trust that the coaching staff has in him.
Patrick, I'm wondering what it was like playing for your dad in high school, knowing that you were better than he was.
Nah, I wasn't better than him just yet. But it was a great experiences. It was moments that I would cherish forever. Being able to be by his side, seeing him coach, at a high level, and him building young kids and turning them into young men. It's pretty inspirational to look at it from that perspective, because he wasn't just coaching me; he was coaching a band of younger guys as well too. So seeing that and being a part of that process and experience, I enjoyed it, and it's something I'll take with me forever. Hopefully we'll cross ties again, maybe in the league, but who knows?
Was he hard on you? Did he yell at you?
Yeah, of course. He'll tell you himself. He'll definitely hard on me. But I learned a lot from those experiences. It was something that made me better as a player and as a person. Those tough learned lessons that I learned from him, it just made me become wiser, and I understood that he wanted what's best for me at the end of the day. You need some tough, constructive criticism to reach to this point, and I wouldn't want it any other way. So I'm very thankful for that, for sure.
Patrick Sr., I coached my daughter in lacrosse for like 10 years, and she ended up going to Northwestern. It's like the Alabama of women's lacrosse, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so Patrick Sr., I am wondering if you did this, because I did it all the time. I would go out of my way to yell at my daughter because I wanted to save face with the rest of the team. Did you?
There were some times, but it's crazy because I didn't have any clue that I wanted to coach. But when I retired, I had to do something. He was at the park, and I was just this crazy dad in the stands, just yelling at people and everything.
Yeah.
So my thing was, I'm out here, so I might as well help and start coaching. But I tried to treat him as equal as I can as all the other players. I didn't want to, make an example, but at some point in time, I had to make an example with him to let the other guys know that, he yelled at his son. the rest of us could get it too. But you have to know how to separate the two. I was coach at the school and on the football field, but at home I was dad. So I think it worked out pretty good.
Hold on, though. When you played, Sam Madison was the talker. You didn't have much of anything to say to anybody. You were better than everybody, and you didn't say much of anything. Are you telling me that in the stands at his games before you were a coach, you couldn't shut up because you were yelling at everybody?
Dan, I was nuts. I was nuts in the stand, man. I didn't know where it came from. I just yelling at people. I remember one game I was on the sideline. He's running for a long touchdown. I'm running down the sideline, and I knock a kid over. I'm like, oh man, what am I doing? So, it was just the excitement of seeing, your kid out there doing special things, man. It just brought a certain energy and feeling out of me.
Wait a second. Are you saying that you're sprinting right past him as he returns a pick six for a touchdown? You're just running next to your son?
So good.
He actually played running back, so he was running down the field, scoring a touchdown. I'm running the same directions as him. Full speed, and there was a little kid. I think the kid was like 8 years old, man. Ran clean over the little kid.
That's embarrassing. It is. Wait a minute. Who's more embarrassed there? Certainly your son is embarrassed, is he not?
Well, I don't think he sucked because he's outrunning me, so he's a little bit ahead of me. But yeah, man. Sorry to the kid.
Well, so explain this part to us. When you have the gratitude and the swelling of what is really proud love, how often will you, what is the height of being moved by watching him play?
Oh, just seeing him compete, man. I remember, I think 2 years ago, he had 2 picks against the Chargers, and he came to the stands and handed me the ball, and I'm knocking people over, get out the way, that's my ball, getting the ball and going back, man. But it's also, because when you're out there actually playing the game, you're in control of everything. So there's no words, just as out there playing. But as a dad, and I know Stu spoke about it earlier, but as a dad and a father watching your kid play, even at this level, you get anxiety because you want to do so well, and like everybody's expecting him to go out there and hold guys to 0 catches, and when he gives up one, people like, oh my God, which is part of the game. Like I said, a clock is a broken clock is right 2 times a day, and
Justin Jefferson is not a broken clock. Justin Jefferson, I don't know. CD Lamb is not a broken clock. Right. I don't know. I am listening to Patrick, but I'm looking at these extraterrestrials who are playing wide receiver, and I got to tell you, Dan, they're a lot larger than the ones you were guarding. They're a lot faster. They're a lot faster than the
Randy
ones.
Moss wasn't good. I mean,
I'm not gonna let you do that. We talking about Randy Moss and Terrell Owens and Marvin Harrison. That's Hall of Famers now.
Yeah.
That's the guys we had to go against.
Okay.
Just back off.
You know what? I stand corrected.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I got you, Patrick.
Fair enough. I'm sorry. I deserve that for the disrespect. But I do marvel at the people your son is covering, and I don't know who he respects so much that he would say, yeah, that's a person who keeps me up a little the night before because I know that's going to be the challenge that's about as good as I am.
Yeah, like you said, man, there's some excellent receivers in the league, but he doesn't shy away from it, man. Like he relishes the opportunity. Like we'll talk before the game. I'm like, you matching up this week? Of course I am. And he looks forward to the opportunity. That's the kind of comparator he is. That's the kind of the work and the film study, the habits that he's created for himself. He's always up for the challenge. And the thing I love about it, he shows no fear, man. He give a play up. He's out there next play in his face, relishing the opportunity to go against the very best. And for my money, man, the things he did, the way that his defense turned around, he definitely deserves Defensive Player of the Year because no other corner or player has the responsibilities that he has, and to go out there and shut guys down and do it at a very high level, man, it speaks volumes.
Eric Moulds 2 times a season. Like, get the hell out of here. What are you doing? You're insulting the man.
Okay, fair enough. Eric Moulds was
guy was a beast.
Was also a handful. But give me some names. Give me the guys, Junior, that keep you up just a little little extra sleepless.
I'll just give you a gauntlet from this year. I had some pretty good receivers. First game, I started off with DK Metcalf. You know his body of work. He's one of the different receivers who could lift the whole weight room. One of them extraterrestrial receivers. So I just think that was the first one where I was like, okay, I know I got a gauntlet coming up this year. Then the next week I had George Pickens. Obviously he put his name out there this year for sure, made plays for them boys on that playoff run. Then I had to go up against Mike Evans.
All right.
Then Mike Evans, he a Hall of Famer, does it consistently each and every year. Then Garrett Wilson. Then the list goes on. Then I went up against.
You're just
Jamar
looking at your schedule. Do you have a schedule magnet on your computer right there? Do you?
I think that Dad had it tougher. I got to be honest.
I'm just going through the schedule, man. Before the season, I'm like, okay, I know which receivers I got to go up against this year.
Yeah.
So it's definitely I was up for the challenge. So I was looking forward to it for sure.
Dad, is there anything in his physical mannerisms that you're watching him or that anyone in your family is watching and they see you in him when he's playing?
I just say what the thing I marvel at, and looking back at what I did, I just say the technical aspect, and just being able to stay in front of guys, man. That's a skill in itself, and just the technique, the confidence. Just all that, man, that it takes to play cornerback in this league at a high level. I kind of see those same traits in him that I had in myself, the playmaking ability, just being able, because people don't understand, man, like there's different body types of receivers that you got to go against, especially at his size, and to go against the DK Metcalfs and then go against the quick guys like a Garrett Wilson, then a guy like Jamar Chase. The same thing when I played. We had to go against a Randy Moss or a T.O., then come back and go against the little guy, Marvin Harris. People don't understand that, those matchups are tough because you're going against different guys. They present different challenges to you as far as quickness, power, speed, and all that stuff. And to be up and added every week, man, it takes discipline. It takes the right kind of mentality, man. And that shows why he's the best in the game.
Junior, what does Dad have to say to you after the game when his Miami Dolphins have put 70 points on your defense?
I ain't gonna lie, I can't even talk about that game, man. I ain't gonna lie. That was a game that haunted me for the next weeks after, because I wasn't expecting that. Obviously, I was going home, was expecting a good game, going to see family. I had like 20 plus, 30 plus family members there, you know what I mean? And even Pop showed up before the game too. So I was excited. I was ready to put on a show. Then next thing you know, the game just like went left. And I look up, it was about 50, then it went to 70. I'm like, man, I'm done with this game. I can't even be as excited anymore to see him, because we put up that performance. But I think I felt instant relief and gratification when I was able to see family members. That made my day much better. So, that's the experience I don't want to relive ever again.
Okay, I'm sorry I did that to you, but your dad seemed to be laughing. Your dad did.
I mean, everybody know that was quite. Yeah, that was bad.
Just for the record, like I surprised him. He didn't know I was coming, so I surprised him. Came on the field pregame and everything, and just for the record, by the end of about 2 minutes left in the third quarter, I was drunk. So I knew the score. But the thing about it, they were down, and Mike McDaniel kept throwing the ball. I'm like, oh shit, he's trying to break records on him. But yeah, I was in Club Live. I was in Club Live watching the game. It was over for me.
Your son was suffering.
Yeah, it was over.
Bad thing about it was humid. It was hot.
Yeah,
we was getting whooped in the sun. And that was.
Wow, your dad went to get drunk in the
while you're suffering on the football
field. You're allowing 70 points, and your dad is hammered before the fourth quarter.
I was watching out of one eye.
So what you were doing? You're saying you were basically drinking to make the pain go away, is what you're saying.
Oh man, that's one of those games, man. That's like the Jacksonville playoff game. They should have had liquor at halftime for us.
For the players.
Has he told
For
you
the
that?
players, absolutely.
Has he told you about that one? Does your son know the score of that game? The game that sent Dan Marino into retirement. Does your son even remember the score of that game?
He's a student of the game. He may not know though. That was bad.
Your father allowed Jimmy Smith and the rest of those receivers
Jimmy Smith.
to beat Dan Marino in his final game 63-7 in a playoff game.
Hey,
Who's laughing now,
it wasn't Jimmy
Patrick?
Smith, man. It was Fred Taylor. Hey, I knew it was over. I knew it was over first frame of the game. Dan throws a pick six, and the water sprinklers come on. It was over after that.
At least we put 20. I mean, shoot, we still though.
It was Marino's last game.
That was it.
I don't remember that one. I don't.
Yeah, man. Sorry, Dan.
Guys, thank you and congratulations. It really is a delight to see the son pick up the father's craftsmanship and take that Surtain legacy and make it something that shines even brighter than it did in Miami, where it's shown plenty bright. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, Dan, a fight we had led us to a divorce. But that's okay, cause how could you know that, of course? Me and Bianca didn't make it this time. But that's okay, Dan, because I have a new wife. I didn't come here to discuss my divorce, but that's fine. Now you know that I have a new wife.
I want to talk to Juju about a number of different things. He's got to be weirdly torn about this playoff game of the millennium between Lamar Jackson, who represents so many great truths and represents so many wonderful things as what's going to be possibly a 3-time MVP, and also Juju's Bills allegiances, Josh Allen allegiances, that are so strong that he is feeling like Josh Allen might be emotionally more connected to him than Lamar Jackson.
Sounds like a win-win for Juju.
I want to find out in a second, but I also want to talk about Bills Mafia for a second because I really do believe it's a special fan base. All of them can be poisonous and emotional in ways that are weird, but if you've seen, this is the only one that gives to charitable causes to represent its fan base in a way that buys diapers for Tua or uses its allegiances in a way that's really loyal and lovable and not just about hatred. So let's check in here with a wedding and see if Juju wants to do some critique of what it's like during a wedding when the wife is given tickets to the Bills are at home against the Ravens on Sunday, and it's the biggest game that we've seen and Buffalo's seen, with a right to get back to the Super Bowl since being a laughingstock at the Super Bowl because Josh Allen has carried them to greatness.
Sometimes I may have to hold on to a secret bonus gift to give you during our ceremony. We're going to see the Bills.
Seriously? Oh, I'm so glad she's so excited. That's how I feel, too. When
That's beautiful. And those no's, by the way, were happy no's. Because if you're just listening on audio, she's like, no! She was very happy to be receiving the tickets.
I have actual chills.
Yes, the greatest day of her life, and she also got married. Juju, your thoughts on everything it is that you just saw there?
I think that's beautiful, man. My girlfriend as well, she's a Bills Mafia diehard, and so I just imagine that, wow, that's a great idea. I'm taking notes from brother because, dang, that was a good one. Like you say, Jeremy, I got chills too because that was the greatest day of her life, and she also got married. Dan, you correct.
Doing them during the vows is a choice, though. I feel like that's something I could have given to her, after the wedding in the hotel room, and maybe during the reception. It's just I'm going to give you this gift, and I want every single person to hear
Look at me,
it.
Louie.
It is a little look at me, Louie, not going to lie.
It is also, though, a nice way to look at at love and an easy connection point between two people who share a passion so weird and odd that in the middle of your most sacred day, here are 2 tickets to the big event. I'm outshining the bride with a couple of pay stubs because I want to go watch Shakir catch 54 yards worth of catches.
I'm trying to think of the look my wife would have given me if I did this. My wife, not as excited about sports as this bride.
No, but this is the thing that Juju, this is what I'm saying. To connect, look, man, there are any number of places you can connect, but to connect over a fiery tailgate, Bills Mafia, over this team, Juju, I made the mistake recently of calling you during a Bills game. It is a sacred time for this football team.
My girlfriend death stared me for that entire conversation because she needed to hear it for some reason. So yeah, but that's a testament to my love for you, Dan. I will answer your call no matter what.
I will never make that mistake again. Can you please tell me what you're feeling this week before that game? Because you're a very public Bills fan and you're a very public Lamar Jackson fan. You're a very public fan of guys who do great job representing Black culture in a way that gets denigrated at every turn and yet is a pillar of professionalism, just winning MVPs. Where do you stand in terms of being torn on this football game?
Yeah, I'm completely torn, completely heartbroken that this is how the schedule lined up. I was a fan of the last couple of games for the Bills. I didn't mind if we didn't get that 2 seed for this very reason, because here we are finna have the game of our year, the game of our life, just for the opportunity to play potentially Patrick Mahomes again. And I think that his side of the schedule, oh my God, like you say, he's benefiting from all those years that Tom Brady benefited from. That first bye week and then playing Houston, wow. So yeah, I'm absolutely heartbroken because no matter what, the true test is still lies ahead next week.
But you will root for Josh Allen, correct? You will find yourself living and dying with all the things Josh Allen does. So that ostensibly makes you rooting for Lamar Jackson mistakes, does it not? Like, does it?
Yeah, not really in life, but on that football team between those lines, I hope my brother has a few mistakes that propels Damar Hamlin, prepares, like you say, Shakir. I just really hope that it's our time this year. But the caveat to losing to Lamar Jackson is like, well, at least it's Lamar.
Do you have criticism on today's show? It feels like we've been on a hot streak. It feels pretty good around here lately.
Yes, sir. The crowd, the listeners, they have been coming in droves saying how much the 2025 version of the show has just been uplifting. We even had a brother reach out to us about Greg Cody Tuesday yesterday. He said, and I quote, was having a pretty rough day, a really difficult day at work yesterday, but listening to Greg Cody Tuesday completely turned my mood around. Thank you for a great show. And that's Flash Gordon Cole from Twitter. Salute, bro.
He was on fire the last couple of days.
I still can't get over Bamboo Reed.
That's the most amazing discovery ever. It's a Suey Award winner for Best Revelation, Runaway.
Your father being understated, Chris, about the delivery made me think it was a joke, made me think he was being silly, because if it was true, he usually fights for that stuff.
It felt like his look it up. Like, it's not actually true,
right.
But look it up.
It seemed like a lie. I've rarely been that surprised on a show by Greg Cody. He was on fire the last 2 days and did a Back in My Day. What else did people enjoy or not enjoy, Juju?
David Samson set the internet ablaze yet again with his take about A.J. Brown. He set me ablaze as well, too, because I was like, what am I listening to? So I'm not going to say his take is bad. I'm just going to lay down the gauntlet. If A.J. Brown only gets one target next week, I'm not the great at calisthenics, and I know David is. So I will run 3 miles on film and die for you guys. And if he has more than one target next week, we need 100 push-ups from David Sampson on camera. I'm laying down the challenge.
All right, Chris, are you okay with this as a challenge? Can you tell me whether I was fooled by AI or not on the bet that Kevin Durant and Devin Booker have? Is that a real thing or is that a fake thing? I didn't verify it and it seemed like it might have been something designed to fool me.
I saw something about that, but I have not looked it up yet, so you will know by the end of this postgame
Okay,
show.
so is that a bet? Do we need to call David Samson and ask him if that's a bet? 100 push-ups. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and say it is a bet, whether David Samson is here or not. And I'm going to say, Juju, what you're saying to the public is while you are very generally muscularly fit, you can't run a lick, you have no cardiovascular stamina?
None. I'm talking about devoid of it. Like the Bills defense, I have none. So you will see your brother struggle if this happens. And I think the take was just a little bit on the take. I think it's kind of crazy coming after 2 weeks ago, whenever A.J. Brown was considered a stand-up guy all around Philadelphia for getting Buddy his first touchdown ball back by giving the fan his jersey off of his back. And I feel like people in Philly love A.J. Brown. So, yeah, I'm ready for this bet.
Mally, who works here, is an Eagles fan, and he was not happy with our A.J. Brown conversation earlier. He says he reads the book every game. We're just blowing this way out of proportion.
Yeah, of course. And also,
Right.
speaking of Saquon Barkley, did you get bad beat on Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown when he runs into the secondary at the end of the game and he's got an easy touchdown and for no good reason he just decides I'm not going to go all the way to the end zone?
That was so bad. I didn't get the bad beat, but my girlfriend, salute to her today, she had Saquon anytime touchdown, and he broke away, and she grabbed me and stood up, and he slid, and now he's no longer welcome in his household.
You got a real one, huh?
Yeah, she cool as hell.
Kevin Durant and Devin Booker will have a bet on Commanders-Lions. The rumor circulating on the internet was if the Lions won, KD must thank Draymond for his 2 rings. And if the Commanders win, Booker would have to write a public Father's Day card to Luka Doncic. This is not true. We don't know what the details
That's
are
too
quite
bad.
yet, Dan.
Do we have any poll updates or anything else that we should be getting to here, Juju, before we get out of here for the day?
Yes, sir. I have a couple polls, but before the polls, Pablo, you cannot be so arrogant when your internet is cutting out every umpteenth second, sir.
Right?
Get on that,
Right.
please.
Thank you. Just the world's most expensive podcast, but when we need him, we can't hear the sound. As he says, I lived the movie. I don't need to talk
Right.
about it. Oh, my God. What an asshole.
The glitchy Harvard guy.
Asshole.
Also, somebody should send somebody to wake him up like 30 minutes earlier for these things. Like he be rolling straight out of bed for us. But yeah, do you wear shoes in the house? 64% of the audience says no. 36 says yes.
No, that
How so?
surprises me. I wonder if there were a lot of people out there who wear shoes in the house and had never considered the idea that people don't wear shoes in their house. Because I'm telling you that for 50 years, I was always walking around my house with whatever it is that I was wearing outside. It's not, no one taught me that. I would have to be taught that. It's something that would have to happen in your household. And so I had no idea I was in the minority until my wife was like, how about we buy this basket and leave these things out here?
You guys are making
Yeah.
me realize that I have always just been a guy. I walk in my house. Sometimes I kick my shoes off right away. Sometimes I get to my bed and I do it on the floor. Sometimes I do it in the living room. Like I don't have a routine when it comes to my shoes. Like there are sometimes it come right off when I walk in, and sometimes it's 10 minutes after.
That's exactly right.
I've never thought about it before, but it's just an odd thing.
Probably depends on how stressed out you are from the day to what you're still thinking about. If you can actively think about walking in the house
So
and
it's
now I'm
Dan's
ready
fault.
to unwind.
Yeah.
Well,
It always is. Now we
It
finally got to the truth.
If it was a good show, my shoes come right
that's
off.
right. What else we've got on poll updates, Juju? People are enjoying that we update the polls occasionally. We should be updating them more often. There should be a space where we're always updating the polls.
Yes, sir. Neither here nor there. But we have a very interesting split poll right down the middle. Out of 2,935 votes, are Funyuns still popular? 51% of the audience says yes, they are still popular.
But unhealthy.
Very flammable.
But unhealthy.
Very unhealthy.
who cares?
Where did I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot here. onion rings as an underrated snack. I'm still maintaining that onion rings of any kind, well made, don't get enough credit. The French fry has dwarfed the onion ring, and I don't believe it's fair. And I believe just some people don't like onions that way, or don't or have bad breath. Everyone kind of likes potatoes, but I believe there's too big a space between the French fry and the onion ring in terms of what is international respect. I think it's unfair. I think it's wrong.
No, it's the variance, Dan.
It's offensive. No, you got to make
high ceiling, low floor.
Understood that a bad French fry is hard to make, but I've eaten bad French fries. I'm not putting the best onion ring against the worst French fry. I'm not putting the worst onion ring against the best French fry. Yes, you're right. The difference between a bad onion ring and a good onion ring is worse than the difference between a bad French fry and a good French fry. But I will not have the disparagement and the sacrilege and the blasphemy, and you motherfuckers telling me at every turn that the onion ring is dwarfed by the French fry.
You have never been sexier.
He is hot right now. Before we get out of here, I'm bad about doing this. If you guys want to submit anything, any questions for us, and want us to get to any topics, hashtag Spliff Notes on Twitter, and we will definitely give you some consideration and read those tweets and bring them here to the forum.
Thank you. As always, Juju, appreciate it.